Hey guys, welcome to Fanfic Fanatics. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if abandoned Izuku was saved by Miriko and had Harem, Part 2. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is The Wolf and the Rabbit by Stillwell03. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Izuku Pav. What, not gonna give your old man a hug? Dad said this in a joking manner with sweat coming off of me. Sorry. It's just a little. Why are you here? His smirk went to a face of remorse. I'll be honest, Izuku, me and your mom are sorry for what we did and want you back. Please come back, son. My hands started to shake, afraid of what I say, thinking he might be sincere. I don't know. It's a lot to take in. I was on edge. I didn't know what to do, so I did the only thing I physically knew I could do. I'm sorry, girls. I need to go. I paid for what I had and walked out the door with my guitar on my back. Before I got far, my father grabbed my shoulder. Izuku, say yes and we'll be a family together. I was on the verge of tears before going into a full-fledged run as far as I could. One Najire Pav. After seeing Izuku leave, I went right up to Mr. Midoriya and socked him in the face. He fell to the ground before noticing me in front of him. What the hell's your problem, skank? Are you trying to screw with Izuku's life more than you already did? He tried getting up before Yui did a charging kick to his stomach. That was for nearly putting Izuku in a panic attack just now. Shiozaki, Kendo, and Yaoyorozu came out to see us, drawing a crowd. Hado, why are you doing this? Kodai, relax. Both Yaoyorozu and Kendo held us back the best they could while the son of a bitch got up. Who exactly is this guy and why are you two so worked up? This bastard is Hisashi Midoriya, Izuku's biological father and the same piece of garbage that abandoned Izuku. The two realized immediately who he was, with Kendo cracking her knuckles. You're the people WHO threw Mr. Cottontail out on the streets. Everyone turned to see Shiozaki with a face redder than red. How dare such filth like you tamper with such a kind and caring kindred soul as his? The fact that such a blessing was given to you and you threw him away is enough that I wish for the likes of you to fall into the deepest depths of hell and suffer for eternity as you groom the charred remains out of Lucifer's beard. 58 Shiozaki began panting, with everyone looking at the normally calm woman. Another solid punch would have been good for me. Way to go, the extra mile, girl. A woman left that looked like Izuku's mother while his dirtbag father continued to argue with us. What makes you kids understand anything? Izuku is my son, so that means I decide what is right and best. If you don't like what I deem is right for him, then, you don't have a son, you piece of shit. Out of nowhere, Miriko and Ryukyu walked over to interrupt the jerk's conversation. The boy that you think is your son was abandoned at the age of 4, with you officially losing the right to call him that. If anything, you're no different than a stranger to Izuku now. You have no right to call him that, and I'll be damned if you ever get that opportunity. Izuku is happy now and is better off if you and that bitch you call a wife are out of his life permanently. Now I need to go find my son. He's probably in absolute hell right now because you wanted to screw with his brain. 7 Miriko walked away while Ryukyu came over to talk to us. I'm sorry this had to happen, but can you all help us find Izuku? Both his mother and myself are very worried about him and want to know that he is safe. Sure. I'm kinda worried for him too. As am I. Kodai, would you know any places where Mr. Cottontail would go if he's depressed? Yui thought before saying a couple. We split into 2 teams, with me having Yaoyorozu and Shiozaki. If you see him, call someone. We began heading out, with me asking Tamaki if he'd keep an eye out, saying something happened to Izuku and he disappeared in the city. He agreed with us, keeping our eyes up in hopes to find him. Meanwhile, Izuku Pav. I found myself running aimlessly to anywhere I could. I didn't want to be bothered by anyone. All I wanted to do was just be alone. Eventually, I found myself at a pond in front of a bench. I didn't know where I was, but I honestly didn't care at that moment. I sat down to think of what my father said. He wants us to be a family again. My head was running in circles right now. He looked like he wanted to truly apologize and reconnect, but something seemed off. I thought it was true, but it could just as easily be a lie. I don't know. I just don't know. My head was in shambles right now. I didn't want to leave Mom, but I also want to believe in the people that are my real parents. Do I believe that my real parents do want to be my family again? Sigh, I hate this. Why did he have to show up? I curled up in a ball on the bench before feeling a hand on my head. I glanced up to see Tamaki there. How you doing, little man? Hey Tamaki. I glanced down after seeing who it was. Najire told me what happened. How are you holding up? I didn't answer for him to understand what's going on. It's that rough on you, huh? Can't blame you to say the least. I finally broke my silence when I began asking a question that's on my mind. Should I? He glanced down at me before asking, excuse me? Should I try and reconcile with my birth parents? I mean, they did kick me out and I can't forgive them for that. But they're still my only biological family I have. If I refuse them, it's like I'm refusing myself. I held my knees tighter to my chest before Tamaki spoke up. Let me ask you something, Izuku. You remember when Miriko was mad at you for nearly burning the house down? I was hungry, so I was trying to make something on the stove. When she found out that you did something like that, she got mad at you for not asking her or Fad to help you. I began remembering the fact she gave me one hell of an earful during that. Fat said that when you left to your room, she was scared she was too hard on you. You were hungry and you weren't exactly adjusted to normal life yet again. She was scared out of her mind more that you'd get hurt above anything else that day. I started to remember some of the times where Mom would scold me for doing the wrong thing that could have ended much worse, and times she's commended me for succeeding. The point I'm trying to make is, who is the person who's been in your corner since you were 6? Mom. Who actually cares if you do right or wrong since it'll better you in the long run? Mom. And who at least gives a damn enough about you to help you instead of walking into your personal life and knowingly making more issues than you need? Mom. Tamaki started to hug me, causing me to hug him back. I know they're your own flesh and blood and I have no right to jump into that. But Miriko thinks of you as her own as well and wants the best for you. I buried my face in his chest while hugging tighter. They came to your house earlier today. The Midoriyas. Wait, how do you? Najire also found out that from your mom, who was trying to stop this before it got out of hand. She didn't interfere because this would just make things worse. I didn't know what to say before feeling Tamaki let go to stare at me in the face. I can't help you with the decision to offer the Midoriyas a second chance. But no matter what, I'm with you and so is everyone else. We just want what's best for you and nothing more. I began wiping my tears away before smiling. Thank you, Tamaki. He ruffled my hair before blushing a bit. Why, you're a lot more radiant when you smile. It makes it hard to speak with you though. I couldn't help but laugh a little knowing Tamaki's still Tamaki no matter what. At that moment, I remembered a song I found out how to play. Hey Tamaki, do you mind if I play something? He smiled before nodding. Go ahead. 8 Yui Pav. Everyone began to meet back up at a park where we went over where we searched. Any luck? Sorry, we started to lose a little hope before hearing guitar strings. What's that? We began walking towards the strumming to see Izuku and Imajiki on a bench. 3. What's he doing? Shish. I tried to have Yaoyorozu quiet down before hearing Izuku play. As he did, I began to feel his heart play out in front of us and see just what he felt. I could tell he was at an impasse right now with wanting to believe in the fact his parents may want to do right, but also afraid they aren't going to and just hurt him in the end. Somewhere in the middle, I noticed a woman walk over with hearing the lyrics and feeling hurt. Isn't that Izuku's biological mother? Najire asked me to take a closer look and notice her facial features were the same as Izuku's. Must be. When Izuku was at the end of the song, Imajiki began patting his head to earn a smile on his face. You're a good kid, Izuku. Even those who shouldn't get one, you think deserve at least some form of a second chance. Yeah. Izuku. The woman walked up to them with worry being obvious in Izuku's face. Hey. Mom. The woman looked away before correcting him. I think I've lost that right to be called that by you. There was a silence in the air before she spoke up. Izuku, are you happy with the life you have? Izuku thought for a second before answering. Yeah. I have a lot of people who care about me who I care for just as much. He smiled, saying this to make Mrs. Midoriya feel even more guilt. Izuku, I know this doesn't make it up to you after everything that your father and I put you through, but I'm really sorry. I let myself be blinded by the vanity of possibly having a son with a strong quirk that I never saw you as anything more than someone who could benefit me. I was a horrible mother if at all one, and I don't deserve to be one anymore. Najire and Shiozaki were about to storm in there to beat the crap out of Mrs. Midoriya, with me stopping them so I can see where this goes. Look. No matter what your father says, do not come back to us. This comment surprised everyone as she continued. Your father wants you back just for the fact he can hold some gain in life from you. The only reason I'm telling you this is because I've realized after meeting Miriko and Ryukyu slowly just what I missed and failed to do. From the moment you came into this world, I had one job regarding you. Help you grow into a man that is able to stand on his own 2 feet. In a greedy desire, I treated that trust you had in me as nothing of significant value. Now you're a strong-willed boy that can stand on his own thanks to who raised you and being raised right. Because of this, me and the man who should have been your father are now strangers to you. For your own good, you should remain with the people that truly care for you and want the best for you before any gain for themselves. This is the closest I can do to the right thing for you, so please say no to Hisashi. 18 I couldn't believe what I was hearing. From what I thought, Inko was a bitch that deserved a few solid punches to the face. But now I see that she actually feels bad for what she did. If you want to yell at me, scream, say any type of insult to me, you have every right to. She held her head down with Izuku's fists shaking in anger. Why? She didn't flinch as Izuku asked his question in more detail. Why did you agree to abandon me? I was your son just as much as his, so why? I could see some tears falling off Izuku's face as she answered. I have no excuse for what I did. I honestly don't know why I gave into my own greed as opposed to my own son. But this is where we stand, and now we've come to this crossroad. I couldn't believe how angry I was seeing Izuku. I've seen him mad, but right now he was fueled with nothing but rage, with just a hairline of composure keeping him from letting it all loose. I'm sorry that I came back into your life. I'll leave and you'll never see me again. Mrs. Midoriya started to leave before Izuku said one final thing. I truly hate what you both did. No matter what, I will never forgive you for that. But if I hold on to this rage, it'll only hurt me even more. If I gave you a chance, would you be more than willing to at least try to have some kind of relationship that can start for me trusting you again? I don't deserve it, but if you do, I will do everything in my power to be someone worth your trust. I began to see Izuku glow green before a smile grew on his face. That's all the proof I need to know you're sincere. He walked over to Mrs. Midoriya to hug her. I saw tears in her eyes as she hugged back. Izuku, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm so sorry. She couldn't stop crying as they embraced for a bit of time. So she really does feel bad for what she did. Kendo smiled a bit before leaning on a tree. Guess even the people we think don't sometimes deserve a second chance. 25 Izuku Pav. After hugging my former mother, Mom and Aunt Ryu found us. Izuku. You okay? They seemed a little tired with the man we would rather not see behind them. There you are, son. Did ya think it over enough? He smiled at me before I answered. Yes, and I can't go back with you. What? You and Mom hurt me too much for us to have a normal family again. But I will give you one chance to become someone worthy of being in my life again. I don't know if you are or aren't yet, but I want to know if you'd be willing to try to have some kind of relationship where I can trust you again? He was silent before answering. Yeah, sure. There was a silence in the air with nothing happening. I know that's a lie. Excuse me? I gave a similar question to Mrs. Midoriya before, with my quirk activating after. I genuinely wanted to give you both chances to at least remaining in my life. She wanted to at least be something to me, while you don't. The only way I know is my quirk needs mutual friendship. If you don't desire for something minimal like that, it doesn't work. 7 He began to become fumed with this before shouting. I don't need some stupid ass quirk telling me what you should and shouldn't do. You are my son and you're coming with me. Mom immediately gave him a kick to the gut to level him. That was for yelling at my son and making him upset today. Mrs. Midoriya walked over to drag her husband away while bowing. I'm sorry if he caused any issues. We'll be on our way now. She started to walk away before Mom spoke up. Hey. Mrs. Midoriya turned around to see a smile on Mom's face. If you want to see Izuku again, feel free to come over on Saturdays. She smiled at this before thanking us and walking away with a semi-conscious Hisashi. You did good, Izuku. Mom came over to pat my head with a frown on her face. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. I tried to keep you out of this, but it backfired. I shook my head before smiling. It's not your fault. I had to do this eventually. She smiled at me before I was tackle-hugged by the girls. From what I could tell, they all were listening and happy that I was able to come out of this without issues. One thing I knew for a fact though, I'm happy my life turned out the way it did. Izuku Pav. 2 After the days off we had, school started back up for me and everyone. Wish it didn't rain the first day back, yeah shroom. It's so dreary out. Yui and Kino had a conversation about the weather while my mind was in another place. Please pick up the pace you three. We are UA students, so being early is our objective. Iida came running past us and made a wave past him. He's fast. Yeah, like a car shroom. The girls started laughing while I remembered something bad that happened. Upon my time talking with Iida, I learned that he was Ingenium's younger brother. I also found out the other day about the attack on the Turbo Hero and that he's not in the best condition right now. Izuku, I'm pulled out of my thought process when I noticed we were at school. You okay? I'm fine Yui, I was just lost in thought for a few minutes. You seem to be doing that a lot lately shroom. I smiled and laughed it off. I guess my mind has been a bit preoccupied lately. Let's go before we're late. We walked into the building to get to our lockers to change our shoes and get to class. Once in the classroom, Iida seemed a bit out of it and not his normal stiff of a self. I personally thought he could dial it back a bit, but this was weird. Iida. You okay? I decided to talk to him with my friend putting on a fake smile. Why yes. I apologize if I may have seemed a tad strange. I knew he was lying, but I didn't want to call him out on it, afraid to touch a sore spot. If you need to talk, know I'm here for you. I appreciate the offer Usagiyama. I walked back to my desk with Mr. Aizawa walking in shortly after. Good morning class. Good morning Mr. Aizawa. Walking in, our teacher had a lack of bandages which relieved us a bit. It's good to see you without any bandages on Sir Ribbit. Yeah, the old lady did a larger amount during the break. Not proud of the fact I was out cold for a large amount of time. He gave some emphasis on some scar on his lower eye. Anyway, we have a special class for hero informatics. Everyone held their breaths thinking we were getting a pop quiz. You all need to think of hero names. Everyone's fear went to joy. Shut up. Mr. Aizawa showed his quirk to force everyone to remain quiet. 4. These hero names will be important for a work study you all will be doing a week from now. In this, you will be learning on the field with a pro. Mr. Aizawa turned to the side to present a board of names and numbers beside them. The people on this board are those who had obtained picks from agencies due to them finding interest in them. Looking at the board, I noticed I had quite a few to make me rather happy that I'm doing something right. 1. Shoto Todoroki. 4123 Izuku Usagiyama. 3913. Katsuki Bakugo. 3556 Fumikage Tokiyami. 391. Tenya Iida. 301 Denki Kaminari. 272 3 Momo Yayorozu. 108. Eijiro Kirishima. 6811 Ochako Uraraka. 22 Honta Siro. 14. 4. The picks are normally more diverse, but our top 3 took most of them. I'm surprised you didn't get the most votes Izuku. Yeah. You got first and beat Todoroki, yet you didn't get as many as him. It's not an issue Siro. Besides, it all depends on who scouted me. Regardless of how many offers you got, you all will still be performing in this work study. Also, don't get too disappointed in this. An agency can give you an offer or retract it during your time here. I smiled at this knowing everyone wouldn't have to worry about coming up with nothing. For those that didn't get any offers, you'll be picking from a list of 40 agencies with a respected history with us. Now for the second half. We have a guest here to help with coming up with names. Hero names can be something for life. So it's best to choose something that isn't indecent, or there will be hell to pay. On cue, Midnight walked in to stand at the front. When thinking of hero names, it is sometimes best to think of one that's specified around who you are or your quirk. As Midnight said, hero names can be permanent from here onward. So as to prevent any future issues, Midnight will tell you if they're alright or not. Once this was said, Aizawa pulled his sleeping bag up to pass out on the floor. I gotta find out how he can be so relaxed enough to sleep in front of his class. One midnight passed out dry erase boards and markers for us to begin writing down ideas for names. Once 15 minutes were up, we were allowed to begin presenting what we had. Aoyama went first with his being well. I cannot stop twinkling. That's a whole sentence. This guy is literally a man that takes the word flamboyant a bit too far. If you change the cannot to can't and take out the I, it works. Midnight made a small correction for our French classmate to agree with it. Mercy madam. When he stepped down, Mina went next with hers. Oh, me next? My hero name will be, the Alien Queen. As in that monster from the second movie, Rejected, Midnight immediately said this for Mina's demeanor to crumble. Dang it. After her, some others went to have their names accepted. Some went with ideas similar to their quirks, while others went with names to honor some. Todoroki on the other hand used his own name. It was accepted, but I personally thought it was him still trying to get over his personal issues. Finally it came to some of the last few people with Kachin going first. 4. King Explosion Murder. That's too violent, fine. Lord Explosion Murder, again, too violent. Kachin seemed to have an issue finding his own name with my searching coming up useless as well. Since it's hard for someone like me to think of a name that describes my quirk, I didn't put as much thought into it growing up. I thought of going with something like Copycat, but that's kinda incorrect since I use the other person's quirk in my own way. What should I choose? I'm pulled out of my thought process when I noticed Ochako walk up to the podium. The Gravity Hero. Uravity. Hers was accepted with Iida, me, and Kachin being the only ones without a name. Eventually, Iida went to the podium to show his first name. You're using your first name as well? Alright, accepted. Now the tension is on. Everyone's thought of a name, but I can't at all. At that moment, I remembered a name that my mother said that I was like to write down. 3. Once I finished, I walked up to the podium to reveal it. Why that one man? The way wolves hunt is never alone. Each wolf has the backing of the entire pack when facing someone kinda like me. My power comes from those that have my back, so I decided to make a name similar to this. The Friendship Hero. Okamer. A shortened version of Okami no Mure or Wolfpack in Japanese. Midnight gave a thumbs up for me to smile. At least that's over. 16 Later that evening for the last 2 hours, I've been sitting on the couch organizing my offers to try and think of what I should do for my work study. If I think about this rationally, I have the ability to do combat, support, and ground control. When that's in the mix, my options are linked to ones that can give me the chance to do all three. Only issue is, rarely does a pro-hero agency offer things like that. I was so focused on my work that I completely missed the door opening and Mom charging me. Look out. I looked to see her tackle me to the ground and put me in a choke hold. You give. Gah. I give. She let go shortly after for me to catch my breath. Can't you just say hello like a normal person? Not my fault you're so caught up in your stuff that you can't see an obvious attack coming. Says the woman attacking me. We started laughing a bit before getting up to recompose ourselves. 6. So whatcha ya up to? I'm trying to think of a good offer I can take for a work study I'm doing. I was thinking of doing one where I can train in all 3 positions of heroics, but not many specify like that. After that, I was thinking of someone that could maybe think outside the box for fighting so I can help get into that area of thinking more. But again, that's a bit of a shot in the dark. Mom started looking through the offers a bit to smirk. You got a lot of offers here. Not bad. Doesn't make going through them any easier. I started to sigh a bit with Mom noticing it. What's wrong? ... It's nothing. Izuku, don't lie to me. I know when you lie. I glanced away a bit before Mom grabbed my neck to put me in a choke hold. What's the problem? Gaia, I can't breathe. Tell me what has you looking like a mopey sack of crap. I started to have difficulties breathing to admit defeat. Okay, I'll tell you. So just let me breathe. Mom let go for me to point out my issue. You remember what happened to Ingenium, right? He got attacked by the hero killer. What about it? ... Iida might be thinking to go after Stain. Mom stayed quiet before beginning again. You realize I may have to report this now that you said someone is willing to act on vigilante acts, right? I know you have to, but can you please just let this play out as is for now? You go and stop Iida now. That'll only push him to go after him more, with right now me being physically scared he might get hurt. If he doesn't, I could have stopped though. I don't think I can live with myself. Unfortunately, I can't jump right into this issue since his brother meant the world to Iida. So you're saying that you wanna help, but don't want to get involved in something bad. I nod for mom to think about this. Then why don't you try and go with an agency near Hosu that's on the case? Great idea, except for one problem. Who's on the case? Mom went through her phone on the Pro Hero page to write a couple of names on the piece of paper. Most were big names that everyone knew. These guys are the ones on the hero killer case, with them going into Hosu. If you wanna help your friend, going with one of these is your most likely best bet. I glanced at the names to find any that offered me an offer to circle about 10. This alone dropped my amount of offers amazingly. So you've got an idea for one yet? Looking at the 10, I figured 4 of the 10 would be kinda pointless since they weren't high-ranking names. Native wasn't exactly a hero I could take much on, but one in particular stood out for me. I think I did. For my work study, I'll put in a request for Gang Orca. With the way you act around other people, that's probably the best offer. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to get some grub. I made a plate for you in the oven, should still be warm. Thanks. I began to clean up and put everything into a folder that I can come back to later. If I was given them as offers, there's gotta be something down the road that these can help with. 3. 1 week later. 2. The time of the work study had begun, with all of us preparing to leave. Make sure to be on your best behaviors for the pros you're doing this with. Also, you do not have authority to wear your costumes unless you're told it's alright. Yes sir. We started heading our separate ways before I stopped Iida for a second. Iida, I don't know what you're going to do exactly, but please be careful. It's alright Usugiyama, I'll be fine. He walked away with my gut not exactly calmer. Guess I have to trust him. I got on my train to notice Jiro on it as well. Hey, what's up man? I sat by her as we talked a bit. So where are you doing your work study? Death Arms. I figured learning a bit of combat from a pro like him could work well. Yourself. Gang Orca. He's pretty dependent and throws an aura of leadership with him. If I can gain some form of motivation like that, I can be pretty strong on my feet. I think you're strong on your feet already though. You're really cool and awesome with how you throw your weight around. I smiled a bit at this before hearing someone speak. Check out that kid's eye. Sheesh, bet that must have stung. I immediately regressed hearing them talk about my eye to hide it with my hand. And just like that your confidence drops. Not surprised though. We continued talking a bit until my stop came to say goodbye. Jiro gave me a fist bump before I went off to walk towards Gang Orca's agency. Once outside, I started to feel a bit nervous. Just relax Izuku. He's not a villain. I opened the door to see a receptionist. Excuse me, but my name is Izuku Usugiyama and I had spoken to Gang Orca about a work study with him. Is there a chance you could help me with where to go? Oh yes. Follow the hall down and Gang Orca's office will be the one at the end. You can't miss it. I thanked the woman before walking down the hall. When I got to the door, I knocked a few times for someone to answer. Enter. When I walked inside, I noticed the whale-looking pro hero behind his desk. 1:16. So you're my work-study student for the week? Why yes sir. My name is Izuku Usugiyama. My hero name is Okamer, Miriko's son, huh. I heard you're quite the little spitfire from what she's said. Gang Orca got out of his seat to walk towards me. He seemed to look really mad before being directly in front of me and looking down. My anxiety was starting to go through the roof seeing the hulking killer whale stare me down. Nice to have you on board. Gang Orca gave his hand out for me to shake. Gee thanks. Now that we've got introductions out of the way, we can get down to business. Sit. I sat in the chair across from him as he sat back behind his desk. Your mother told me that you have a friend you want to help and that the main reason you chose my agency is to try and help him. I turned away and nodded. The hero killer hurt my friend Iida really badly by attacking his brother. He prided himself to be just like Ingenium to the point I'm afraid he may do something he'll regret. I don't know what I can do, but as a hero in training, no. As his friend, I need to do something to help him. Gang Orca stared at me before answering. You don't need to hide the fact you're scared out of your mind. Anyone who'd be worried about possibly facing the hero killer is. However, you aren't a hero, and saying this to me is grounds for me to bring in the boy you're talking about. I started going pale hearing this. Though your worry for your friend overwhelms your fear of what'll happen. Your heart's in the right place with you wanting to help someone because you deem it right. For us heroes, courage and our self-morals go hand in hand. Now I will say going against the hero killer is foolish on both your parts, but diving into hell just to save someone who could die is the exact example of what heroes do on a daily basis. Gang Orca went into his desk to pull out a form. He passed it to me with the name of Chizo Makaguro on it. That's all the information on who your friend is targeting. Learn what you can before we go out tomorrow to Hosu. I nodded my head as he led me through the agency for a tour. Iida Pav. 3. For my work study, I had decided to do it with a local hero in Hosu City called Manuel. We had been patrolling the streets with little happening. From what I have gathered, hero patrols had gone up to decrease chances of crime happening. However, I came here with a goal in mind, and I am not going to let the hero killer walk away after what he did to Tensai. Sorry to ask this, but you're here to go after the hero killer, aren't you? I stopped for a moment with Manuel hitting the nail on the head as to why I had chosen his agency. It only makes sense. Look, I understand that you have your reasons too, but going after someone the way you're trying isn't a good option. Heroism isn't like when it first started. If you walk down the path of vigilantism, there will be repercussions. We have the privilege to use our quirks as heroes, but we aren't the law itself. We need to abide by it just as much as anyone else. I felt nothing but frustration knowing that the hero killer could do what he did and I couldn't legally do a thing to stop him. Sorry, I didn't mean that in a bad way. It's just that you seem like a straight-laced person and I'd hate to see you ruin your chances at being a hero for something like this. Yes, the hero killer isn't an exception, but we need to take care of him through legal means and not by our own measures. It's fine. I appreciate your concern. Manuel continued to walk away with the anger inside me not quelling at all. This is infuriating. I know I shouldn't, but after what he did to Tensai, I had clenched my fist in absolute anger. This isn't right. Few days later, Izuku Pav. Get moving, Okamer. You won't be able to help anyone if you need it. Since the first day, Gang Orca had taken it upon himself to prepare me to head out to Hosu. He said the clearance to start the case would take at least 3 days before we could even think of leaving for the city, however, to give us that time to do nothing but prepare for whatever we'd encounter. I've got you now. I began to jump up to prepare an axe kick. When I was about to, Gang Orca glared at me with intent to shake me up a bit. He noticed this to grab my leg and throw me into a wall. The act made me react to harden my body with Kirishima's hardening, to go right into a wall and get stuck. You okay? I tried to pull myself out to have no luck at all. Yeah. Just a little stuck. I kept pulling as much as I could before the pro came over to grab my shirt. In one go, he yanked me out of the wall to stand me up. Thanks. Why did you hesitate? I was going to say something, but couldn't find a good enough excuse. I just got spooked. In a real fight, you can't hesitate. You do, and you or someone else could pay the consequences. This is why every move you make, you must steel your nerves or you will cause someone to get hurt or die. I held my head down, realizing that strength and quirk-wise I may be on the right track, but I still had a long way for skill and will. I came out of this, however, when I felt a pat on my head. Even though you've still got a long way, you're doing everything to limit that flaw you have. Confidence and steeled nerves don't come overnight, they're things that grow gradually. Just learn how to get stronger and you'll soon be free of that burden. Orca went to a bench to pass me a water bottle before pouring one on himself. To be honest though, kid, you remind me of your mother back when she started. She was a stubborn one that didn't take anything from anyone. She still kinda is. I could tell. We both shared a bit of a laugh about Mom's stubbornness before Gang Orca started to walk towards the door. 1. Get ready. We have permission today to start the stain case. We'll arrive at Hosu tonight around 8. Gather whatever you need for a fight and we'll head out in an hour. I drank from my water before walking to where I was sleeping to get some gear to help. Iida. Don't do something that'll hurt you. When I was ready, I walked near Gang Orca's office where he was filling out some final bits of paperwork. You ready? I took a deep breath before showing a determined face. Yeah, let's go find the hero killer. 8 p.m. at Hosu. Gang Orca and I had arrived at Hosu City with it being dusk. Right off the bat, we began our search on the streets. You've done some intel on the hero killer, right Okamer? Yes, he normally attacks near hero agencies in alleys that are normally used by heroes. This is to make sure, in my opinion, the ones he wants alive stay alive and the ones that die to be discovered to prove his point. Interesting. Let's start surveying the alleys near the agencies by the station, then work our way from there. We had gotten to an agency of one of the local pros to walk into some alleys. Once there, I activated earphone jack to listen through the walls. What are you doing? It's my friend's quirk. It can be used to listen to sound waves and such. Smart. Even if he's on a roof, we should be able to find him. We didn't have any luck in the alley for us to continue on for a couple more. Once we hit the 5th or 6th, we began to hear explosions and notice smoke. What is that? Don't know, but let's check it out. We both ran to the area to see the monsters that looked like that thing from the USJ. Wait, is that the thing they called Nomu? You know these things? I shook my head slightly. No, not exactly. This thing that they called Nomu attacked us at the USJ. I thought it was taken in. Maybe their relatives or something. The monsters started to beat around the heroes of the city for Gang Orca to run in to help. We can discuss this later. Okamer, find your friend now. But sir, how am I gonna? If he's going after the hero killer, he'll think the same as you. Use your judgment right now. If things go bad, I trust you. I heard these final words before Gang Orca took a punch to the gut to send him into a building. Sir, get moving. I glanced around to notice that I wasn't needed here before running into an alley. Those Nomu guys are here in Hosu. But they're with the League. Why are they here? I kept having thoughts run through my head as to why the creatures led by the League of Villains would be in Hosu where the hero killer should be. In that moment, I thought a horrid thought to forcibly run as fast as I could to find both Iida and Stain before it was too late. Third person POV. In a dark alley, Iida was seen on the ground with the hero killer Stain above him and a pro by the name of Native beside them. You bastard, I'll take you down for what you've done to my brother. Stain seemed to be agitated with the young engine quirk user. You wish to take me down. If you even held a thread of what you should be as a hero, you would have saved the man who was hurt over there first. To attack someone out of blind rage is the most unheroic thing someone could do. You're nothing but a fake that the world will take great pride in knowing you will never exist after this. Stain pulled his blade out of Iida's arm to point towards his neck. Rest assured, boy, your death will show a bright future for this world. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Iida was blinded by his own anger for the villain realizing that he was correct. As a hero and as Ingenium's brother, Iida felt he failed at what he should have done. As Stain came down with his blade, Izuku jumped to the rescue with a hardened kick to the villain's face. Luna turret. The hit forced the hero killer back as the young boy landed between him and Iida. Iida, you okay? The engine quirk user looked up to see his friend in front of him. Usugiyama, what are you doing here? I figured you'd try to do something like this, so I was able to get permission to come here and help you. Good thing I did when I did, or you could have seriously gotten hurt. Izuku grew his hands to about twice his body size with big fist to grab Native and Iida. He also created wings for himself thanks to Manifest to place the two injured on the roof. I won't let you go anywhere. Stain had begun jumping from wall to wall before nearing Izuku with his katana in hand. He slashed at Izuku's wing hoping to hit him before the wing held an iron coating on it to echo the sound of metal hitting metal. Trying to avoid it, Stain jumped on the wing before getting a tongue to grab and send the villain back to the ground. You both should be safe here. Izuku placed the two down on the ground before turning to the alley where Stain was. He won't quit just from that. I'll need to stall him until help arrives. Izuku sent a message to the group chat asking anyone to send help to his location before noticing Stain coming back up again. I'll be back. The greenette jumped down before using explosion to force Stain back down to the ground. I don't need to defeat Stain, I only have to hold him off until help arrives. So long as he stays here, those two will be safe. Just stay focused and keep him here. Izuku raised his fists as Stain came charging at him. The young boy used Frog to jump off the ground to the wall before attacking Stain with a right fist covered in both his hardening quirks. Stain deflected this with his katana and narrowly hit Izuku in the jaw with his knee that had a metal spike brace where it would have impacted. The boy then thought of using a few pebbles that he had in his pocket as weapons to throw and increase their size. Stain jumped over these to not notice Izuku on the back of one to give him a blast from wave motion, which sent the hero killer to the wall. He recovered to come charging back at Izuku. 2. He's not giving up. Izuku acted as fast as he could to create a form of defense with vines to slow down the hero killer. This didn't work for long as the was hacking the newly grown vines to bits. This did however give enough time for Izuku to create 2 speakers from his body with creation to plug in earphone jack. Packed move. Rocking creation. Izuku hit Stain with a blast of strong vibrations thanks to creating a speaker of similar magnitude to Jiro's on her hero costume. Now let's wrap this up. Izuku used Manifest to create tentacles from his fingers to incapacitate the hero killer. Unfortunately, the villain wasn't giving up just yet to slash the octopus appendages up. I won't fall that easily. Stain charged at Izuku for him to panic a bit. Everything I throw at him won't work. Not only that, but I'm starting to run on fumes. The attack would have landed if it wasn't for Izuku being protected by a giant glacier. Wait a second, you should really be more precise instead of just putting a random location on Usugiyama. A second later, and I might have not been able to help. 5. Thanks. I owe you. Don't worry about it. What's the situation? Iida and the pro-hero native are up there. For now, we need to keep Stain down here until more help from pro-heroes arrive. I'll cover the top and you keep him down below. Izuku nodded before activating OFA to increase his speed and reduce the amount of drawback on himself. Izuku then activated Rabbit to increase his jumping mobility. I will rid this world of false heroes. Now out of my way, boy, before I must kill you and your friend there. I won't. Izuku used OFA in his foot to attack Stain, who blocked him with his blade. Unlike before, however, Izuku was able to turn his body to punch Stain in the face. This forced the villain back a bit before taking a small knife to stab Izuku's bicep. The sharp pain came though the young boy. Damn, I was careless. Izuku need the hand with the blade to allow him to pull away from the hero killer. Todoroki, I need you to sear the opening shut. Won't that hurt? We need to keep him down here. Stain began going back up to the rooftop, cutting the ice Todoroki made with ease. Okay then. Todoroki put his left hand on the cut to sear it shut and give Izuku an unbearable shot of pain inside him. He then used Rabbit and OFA to jump up to Stain to tackle him back towards the ground. I'm not letting you hurt anyone else. Izuku was forcing himself to move on adrenaline. Both were falling with the hero killer trying to shove Izuku off. Get off me, kid. If you don't, we could both die. If I can save my friend and native, I'm content with that. Stain started kneeing Izuku in the stomach with his spikes to leave a few holes in the boy as they both neared the pavement faster. During the last minute, however, Todoroki was able to make a slide of ice to avoid both from hitting the pavement head-on. Izuku and Stain slid down and went right into some trash cans. 1. Pant you brat, are you suicidal or something? ? Izuku slowly got up to prepare for another fight. No, I'm trying to help people who need it. Izuku started smiling to make Stain realize something. This kid is willing to risk everything just to stop me. If more people like him existed in this world, maybe things would be better. Stain prepared for another attack to charge at Izuku. The young boy was losing a large amount of blood and his consciousness to focus solely on the senses he had. I gotta focus. Holding his hand out, Izuku activated Explosion, half hot, half cold, and Wave Motion in his left hand. Packed move. Spiraling Cannon. The blast came at Stain to submerge him in a spiraling fire with explosions coming from the center, getting a straightaway to the hero killer. The impact sent him right into a wall to make an indent in it. Iida slowly regained his ability to move again to witness the final attack from above. With a shaking fist, Izuku raised his right arm up to signal he won. Immediately after, however, Izuku fell backwards, blacking out from the pain and injuries he had. Usugiyama. Izuku turned his head to see Todoroki run towards him to smile. I stopped him. Iida and Native are safe. Izuku paw. 4. I started to wake up with bright lights shining on my face and the smell of disinfectant in my nose. Men. 5 more minutes, Mom. I grumbled this before turning to my side and feeling unbearable pain. Ow. I shot up to see Todoroki and Iida in the room alongside me. Iida was in a hospital bed while Todoroki was sitting in a chair beside him. Nice to see you're up, Usugiyama. Yeah, I hurt like hell though. What happened? To make a long story short, Okamer, you defeated the hero killer and ended up in the hospital for a few days. Thanks to the help of some pros, we were able to avoid any significant casualties, with you getting hurt the most in the battle with Stain. Gang Orca walked into the room explaining what happened around the time I blacked out. I looked down to see a bunch of gauze on my torso and remembered that the hero killer stabbed me. The doctors said you were lucky it wasn't closer to the left, or it could have caused damage bad enough where you'd be stuck in here for a few months if you're lucky. Gang Orca said this with some irritation for some reason, with my mind coming towards something I needed to find out. Did my mom find out about this? Well, it's kinda funny you'd ask that. The sound of someone running down the hall was heard before what sounded like someone shouting. You bastard. Mom came charging in to give me a running kick to the face. I fell to the ground before being wrapped in a choke hold. What have I told you about being careful? I get a call 3 nights ago that you're admitted to a hospital because you go against the hero killer, as well as Kanoko and Yui, freaking over a text message you sent them. Where the fuck was your brain during the time? I was starting to lose oxygen before Mom let go. Sorry kid, she already gave me my lumps when we met up at the hospital the first night. Gang Orca turned to reveal a swollen cheek and his one eye closed, probably due to the pain. Now as for you, glasses boy. Mom walked over to Iida before giving him a solid kick to the head with her heel. He covered his head where she hit, with Mom's glare not going away. That was for doing something fucking stupid. Do you know how worried my son was for your well-being? 4. Iida winced in pain before looking up to her. I don't blame you for wanting to do right for what happened to your brother, but you went about it all wrong. Unlike you, Izuku asked for help knowing that the anger you have isn't going away anytime soon, and was afraid you'd do something that could have ended with you being seriously hurt or killed. Mom patted Iida's head before smiling at him. From what Izuku said, you're a good kid. Though your brother's hero career might be over, his legacy won't die if you take what he wanted to do for people to heart. He smiled at this as I got off the floor to sit back on the bed. Seems motherhood made you a tad bit softer, Miriko. Mom's head whipped to Gang Orca before cracking her knuckles. Who's soft, Shamu? All the color in the pro went away at this, with Todoroki moving over to speak to me. Your mom is really scary when she wants to be. You should see her when she's really pissed off. I doubt even All Might could hold her back. She can be that scary. Both of us shivered at the thought that even the #1 pro hero couldn't handle Mom on her worst day. 17. Well, either way, you did a good job, all things considered. Mom came over to pat my head before smiling. Oh, and by the way, brace yourself. Brace myself for what, you dumbass. I was cut short by Yui tackling me and strangling my neck, with Kino biting my leg for some reason. Are you trying to give us a heart attack? Do you realize how worried we were about you? Quote. APWOAGWISE ISWIC WU. Normally Yui is rather calm even when things get serious. So when she shows any significant emotions are shown on her face, I know for a fact she's very heated by what it is. And right now she literally has a face that says she wants to kill me. When we saw you lying on the bed like that, we were so scared for you. I felt tears on my face and leg to see both of them crying. You're someone we care about, Izuku. Please don't do this to us. You have no idea how much it hurts us to see when you're so hurt like this and we can't do a thing to help. Please take better care of yourself, if not for you, then for us at least. 13. I hate seeing them cry. I got up before pulling both Kino and Yui into a hug. I'm sorry I did this. I didn't think with my head when I was fighting and got hurt because of it. I promise I'll try a lot harder next time and won't end up like this if I can avoid it. Sniffle, you better. If you don't, I'll bite you again, Shroom. And I'd deserve it at that point. Both girls laugh a bit and slowly stop crying. Whenever I see them sad, it makes me feel like garbage and wanna try and cheer them up. Mom said it was just in my nature when someone's sad to wanna make them happy. Before anyone could say anything, the sound of the door sliding open was heard with a man that had a face like a Doberman walking in. 1:11. Hello. It's nice to see you're finally up and about, young man. Thanks, mister. Excuse my rudeness, my name is Kenji Surigame, the chief of police force. My apologies, sir. I bowed at the dog man before he continued. If it wouldn't be so much trouble, would those that weren't part of the Hosu incident please leave the room? Mom, Kino, and Yui got up to leave as to the chief's order. When they shut the door, he waited a few minutes before speaking. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you on defeating the hero killer. Thanks to you, Okamer, the threat he plagued upon our society is no longer an issue. However, doing so did break a law or two on your end. I went pale when he explained this. As I explained with your classmates prior to right now, what you did was technically illegal. Heroism without a proper license to do so is no different than a villain using their quirk on a civilian. 8. Things weren't looking good for me as the chief was hitting the nail on the head. From what Mom told me, there isn't many tangents to the law as of yet, since quirk laws are still in all technicality really new compared to other laws. This is where my job is difficult. As far as the law is concerned, you should be arrested as well as your two friends who were in a similar boat. That is, if we used the exact story. Wait, what? When you separated from Gang Orca, his words to you were, use your judgment, and that he trusted you if things went bad. Now this can be taken two ways due to the vagueness of what he could have meant. In one way, he could have meant, use your best judgment to how the law handles you at this point in time. This meant you could be arrested right now. But the second way is that he could mean that if things go wrong, you'd use your judgment to use your quirk accordingly. This would mean you could be taken off the chopping block with these two still being on it. I was afraid for Todoroki and Iida as this was said to panic. Sir, please don't blame them. Iida was just trying to do right for his brother and Todoroki backed me up because I asked him. I already understand what exactly happened prior. You don't need to explain. No matter how we look at it though, we're in a rough spot. Did he just bark? Now here's what I suggest, since we can maneuver this in a way because of so little people knowing this. The hero killer attacked Native. In a form of defense, you and Iida tried to stop him with Iida being injured due to this. He didn't use his quirk due to not having the authorization. You on the other hand had it and took on the hero killer alone while backup was coming. This backup was Todoroki and Gang Orca along with a few pros. They showed up after the hero killer was defeated to assist you, Iida, and Native to the hospital. We can argue that all the damage done was from you because of your quirk's unique trait. If we go with this, the secret of what really happened will stay between us in this room and the small handful of people that knew the actual thing from start to finish. It's either we hide the secret, or you all go to jail. 5. I understood this enough to see where I stand and where I could easily be sent to jail. Personally speaking, I'd rather not put any of you in jail. It would be a waste of heroes in training if this were to happen. He gave us a thumbs up before leaving. The records will say you did everything legally unless you say something. So try to keep it to yourselves so I don't have to discuss possibly arresting any of you. He walked out for me to turn towards Iida and Todoroki. He told us what was going to happen when he first met us. We got lucky. I agreed with Todoroki before laying back in my hospital bed exhausted from everything coming at me one after the other. Usugiyama, I'm sorry for putting you through everything. If I had been wiser, then maybe you would not have had to hurt yourself. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for helping me. I held my hand up to give Iida a thumbs up. We're friends, so don't worry about it. I noticed him smile before letting out a sigh. So did anything else happen when I was out? Only your phone going off because of your message. I glanced at the stand beside me to see my phone to grab and look at the messages. I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do. 3. Few hours later, after having all the explanations of what happened out of the way and practically being screamed at by almost every one of the girls, me, Todoroki, and Iida began to chat a bit before Todoroki had to leave and Iida was able to leave the hospital with a final checkup. I unfortunately had to stay for a few more days with nobody to keep me company. I could have talked to Kachin or one of the girls, but I didn't know if they were busy and didn't want to bother them if they were. Well, might as well take a walk so I don't get lazy sitting around all day. I moved my legs to the side before hitting something beside the bed. What the? Looking down, I noticed it was my guitar case with a note attached to it. Made sure to bring this along since you'd probably be bored waiting around the hospital. Brighten someone's day up, would ya? Mom. P.S. Next time you end up like this, you'll be put in a hospital because of me beating your ass. 15. She really got pissed off because of that fight. I glanced at the guitar though and smiled knowing my mom at least cared about me enough to get mad at me for doing something stupid and was caring enough to give me something to do what I like to do best. Make people happy. Now where's the section with the kids? I'm sure they'd enjoy someone coming inside the room to play for them. Or maybe go to a spot where the elderly are since they normally would enjoy someone just to talk to. I walked down the hall a bit before I found the children's ward. I found a room with a bunch of kids inside to knock before opening. Hi. Everyone looked at me confused before I spoke again. I was kinda wondering if any of you would like to hear a song. I know that staying in a hospital isn't fun, but maybe I could help you make the most of it. The kids looked at me confused before smiling. Well, I'll take the smiles as an okay. I grabbed a seat to pull up before tuning my guitar. This one is gonna start out a little weird. But please bear with it. 6. The kids looked at me a bit strangely before I started to strum. When I got past the strange half, they began to smile hearing me rap rather fast. Some that weren't paying attention much looked over to watch my mouth go and be really impressed. When the second verse came, the ones that were really paying attention listened closely to feel some form of empathy for me because of how the song went. I just simply kept playing before spitting out a few more rhymes to make them extremely impressed and start smiling from ear to ear. Eventually the song came to its end with me laughing a bit as if I was arrogant to embody the image of Escanor. When I finished, the kids smiled and clapped wanting me to play a little more. Okay, let's see. What else can I do? I looked over to the side to see a small keyboard. Can I use that if it's somebody's here? The kids nodded fast for me to set the keyboard up in front of me. Okay, I think you'd all enjoy this one. When I started playing, those who knew the song began to shout for joy. Once it got to the end of the first half, everyone began dancing around. I didn't know offhand, but some of the nurses were watching and videotaping me playing for the kids. I didn't pay much attention to this since I was focused on making the kids happy. As I entered the final verse, everyone looked at me to see my head holding down prepared for the intense uplift of the song. In the final parts of the chorus, the kids started shouting, "Natural," to sing along. At the end, I had the claps of the kids and the nurses before thinking of one final song to play. Okay, I think it's only fair I do one more before calling it a night so the nurses don't have any trouble. I pulled my guitar out to start strumming. The kids and the nurses started to clap along for everyone to smile. As I played the first verse, everyone was beginning to sing the chorus to increase the feel for everyone. When the second verse came, the kids started to circle around me and clapped along. Eventually, the song ended with me standing up to bow at everyone. They clapped as I started putting everything back where I found it. Please don't go, mister. One more song. A small girl with purple hair tried to plead one last song out before I patted her head. Sorry sweetie, but I think I should end it there so the nurses don't have any trouble with me being out of my room after when I should be inside. But I'll be back again tomorrow if you all want. The kids cheered as I began to leave for my room. This was nice. Izuku Pav. 3. On the way home from the hospital, Mom had been kinda uneasy for some reason. The whole trip, she seemed really off in a way to the point she seemed to space out a bit. Mom, I tried to get her to come out of it before we came to our stop. Mom, this is our stop, Huh, she seemed to not comprehend where we were since she looked around completely confused. What's wrong? This is our stop. Let's go home. Alright. We got off with what happened in the taxi still not fully off her mind. Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. She smiled before I noticed a few bags under her eyes. Are you sleeping okay? You're not looking so well. I'm still well enough to kick your ass, ya little runt. She kept her facade going, with it now obvious what most likely is the case. I'm sorry if I made you worry. I promise I won't let something bad like that happen again. Mom looked down at me and smiled. You're really a pain in the ass, you know that. I know you were trying to help a friend during the Hosu fight. But next time, could you please at least try to hold your own life with some consideration? People worry for you. I nodded before hugging Mom with her ruffling my hair. We headed towards the door where we were met by most of my female classmates, Hino and Yui with some of the girls from Class B, and Najire inside. Izuku, how are you feeling? Kendo got up to walk over to look me over for any injuries for some reason. I'm fine, just a little worn out from everything that's happened to me. Ya better do what the doctors told you about taking it kinda easy for another day or two before doing anything dangerous. I nodded before Mom went towards the door to head out. I gotta handle a shift at my agency. I take it you all will help make sure Izuku doesn't do something dumb like try to push himself and train while he's supposed to be resting still. Trust me, the sooner I'm healed, the less issues we all have. Besides, I don't want to make people worry for me more than they already are. Good. Mom started to walk out before I shouted to her. Try not to overdo it yourself. If you can, take a little time to get some rest. I don't need a little pain in the ass like you to tell me what to do. Mom smiled at me after this before jumping away. Your mom is like the most badass person I know. Jiro said this for me to nod. Anyone that pisses her off has hell to pay. I honestly think you'd rather Endeavor's hellfire burning you alive or All Might's most powerful smash compared to her rage. I walked back inside to begin moving towards the kitchen for a glass of water. Coming back, I sat on the couch's end with Tsunotori next to me. So why exactly did you all come here? Well, we kinda wanted to make sure you weren't badly hurt and Quote. Ochako tried to say something before Mina spoke up. We all just wanted to nurse you back to health. I glanced around the room to see the girls hold a bit of blush on their faces. Except for Sue, who just had a look of unease, most likely due to the fact she doesn't show much emotion. Well, I'm kinda all healed, so there isn't as much of an issue for lift your shirt up then. Jiro said this rather bluntly for everyone to look towards me. I'm sorry, if you're at full health, then lift your shirt up so we can see the stabs in your gut fully healed. 3. I looked around with the girls waiting patiently before I slowly pulled my stomach up. The injuries still had some stitches in them that I'd have pulled from Recovery Girl in 2 days when we returned to school, with 4 deep stabs on the right side of me that just narrowly missed major arteries and needed me to be rushed into immediate surgery from Stain's knee spikes. The knife wound he had was probably the worst though, since it was extreme. The knife just missed the underpart of my left lung as well as just missed a vital organ. The girls looked at my torso extremely amazed before Shiozaki spoke up. Why have you allowed such a painful act to be done to you? Quote. I'm with Shiozaki on this one. Do not let this get worse than it already is. I'm sorry, Tsunotori, but I didn't fully understand that. I said, don't let this get worse than it already is. I'm scared you'll get scars from this. She spoke in Japanese again for us all to understand her. Since you don't look like you'll be doing much for now, we'll be staying here until your mother comes back. Izuku. Momo, please, I don't need you all here, too bad. They all shouted for me to let out a deep sigh. All right, I give. Everyone smiled, with my mind telling me that this was going to be a long day for me. Itsuka Pav. After Izuku accepted us to help him, he decided to head towards his room to work on some ideas he had for possible combinations. Me and Pony walked over to watch him in his room while the others managed lunch. When we opened the room, it looked like a hero otaku's paradise. Geez, there's a lot of heroes in here. Wall to wall, there was some kind of hero merch of almost every hero. Is that the limited edition Hawks figurine? Pony walked over toward his dresser where there were like 30 different figures. Yeah, Hawks gave that to me after my mom kicked the crap out of him for asking me about what type of underwear my mom wears. Damn pervert. I wanted to say something, but chose not to, considering the mental image of Hawks asking this and Miriko maybe kicking him hard enough for a tooth to fly out being kinda realistic in my head. I was 8 at the time to not fully understand why, if that also helps. Not in the slightest. I sat down on Izuku's bed while Pony kept marveling at his hero collection. As I sat, I looked towards his desk to see a few notebooks on it. I grabbed one to see what it was about. Hero Analysis. Volume 5. Wonder what's in here. I started flipping through the book to see it was a bunch of pro heroes and their quirks. Whoa, these are pretty spot on. I kept flipping before I got to the last page that said Izuku's name and a costume idea on it. The costume looked practically just like Miriko's except with the base being green and the side colors being red like Yuki's costume. So this was an idea for his costume. Now even more curious, I grabbed another notebook to see it was a 6th volume to go through and find more heroes that weren't in the first, as well as a more revamped costume idea at the end. This time, it had gauntlets on the wrists for some reason. I kept this cycle up each time seeing the change of the costume or the support gear. Though they kept changing, the baseline of it being like Miriko's never changed. The last volume held a costume idea that was the one Izuku uses today. Eep. I glanced up to see Izuku panicking to grab the notebooks. Give those back. Easy. I was only looking. Please just give them back. They're not supposed to be looked at by other people. He reaches for the one in my arms for me to panic a bit as he started reaching out for it. On instinct, I jumped back to have Izuku fall on top of me with his face directly in front of mine. Ow. Sorry about that. Izuku stopped when he saw where he was to go, completely red. In that moment, I noticed his scar to find it gave kinda a cute look to his puppy dog image before he jumped right off. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. I kinda went into something I shouldn't have. I felt my face get a little red knowing Izuku was literally on top of, I'm not a pervert. I hid my face while Pony watched the whole thing go down with a blank stare. So do you like Izuku? She blurts this out for both me and Izuku to go entirely red. I smack my head on his pillow as Izuku walks down to the kitchen. Great, now he thinks I'm some kind of weirdo. If you want to confess to him, I'm willing to join you. Why are Americans so calm with this? 58. Kyoka Pav. While Izuku went upstairs to handle whatever he was with Kendo and Tsunotori watching him, me, Sue, Yui, Najire, and Ochako handled making lunch for everyone. Dang, can they have any more carrots? I asked this while opening a cupboard with literally a dozen bunches of them inside. Well, we are talking about the rabbit hero here. Ochako pointed this out while she began cutting some potatoes for curry. Miriko eats a lot of carrots. She also has Izuku in fear his eye may cause him problems in the future. He always had a couple to munch on when we be in school together. Shroom. Kanoko and Yui clarifies for us a bit for the thought of having them as a snack kinda disgusting me. Not a fan of carrots. Ribbit. Hate them. My mom and dad tried to get me to eat them growing up and they just tasted like dirt to me. I get you. Lettuce isn't something I'm into personally. Just tastes like I'm eating a leaf. I at least had some comfort knowing Najire understood where I was coming from. She eventually finished cutting the meat to pre-cook it before dropping it in the pan with the other vegetables. As this went on, Yaomomo decided to make tea for everyone, with the only tea in the house being green. None of us had a problem with it, so we just simply went with it. So why did you come over, Kyoka? Mina asked for me to go kinda red. The fact Izuku could go from confident to meek like night and day kinda made him a little cute to me, but I'd never say that to everyone. I think someone likes Mr. Cottontail. I do not. I just was scared for Izuku after what he did is all. Then why are you calling him by his first name? Kanoko smirked at me while I tried to think of a reason. Well, I mean we're friends, so. Alright, fine, maybe I do like Izuku. Everyone laughed at me while I grabbed some instant stock and cream from the fridge to start the base. You don't have to hide it from us, we're all in the same boat. Most of us are already kinda dating him in this room, or at least went on a date or two. Ochako said this for my head to go a mile a minute. At least Izuku isn't here. I turn around to see the one person I'd rather not be right behind us. How long were you there? Quote. Long enough. I smack my face realizing I may have just admitted to liking Izuku with him hearing me. Goddamn my life. Few hours later, Izuku Pav. As we all sat in the living room, the thought of what Jiro said came to my mind. I looked over the room with Mina being the first to speak up. Alright, I'm clearing the air. Everyone here has the hots for Izuku. Now what do we do about it? Thank you for addressing the elephant in the room, Mina. So, what do you all wanna do? I tried asking for everyone to think. I guess we can do what we've been doing, except with more people. Shroom. I feel a little annoyed that we have to share, but there's honestly no other choice, is there? Ochako pointed this out for me to let out a sigh. So how would this work per se? There's 11 of us, so doing it one person gets a day of the week won't work exactly. Perhaps a day with 2 a day would work with the person that has a day alone alternating to make it fair. That could work, Shiozaki. Najire says this with everyone nodding in agreement. Wait, so we all are okay with this relationship? Everyone nodded before Yui speaks up. So it's settled. We all will have a polygamy relationship. Let's call us Izuku's pact. Can we make it seem like something that doesn't make us sound like we're a bunch of animals? 13. Okay then, we're all in agreement. As of right now, we're all going to start dating Izuku. Everyone nodded at Momo as she started to pull out some popsicle sticks that she made with her quirk. She then put numbers on them to give to me. Alright. This is how we'll begin. The numbers on the sticks will start where we are right now. If you have the number 1, you will be paired with the number 2. If you have a number 3, you're paired with number 4 and so on. If you have the number 11, then you'll have the first day alone with Izuku. Everything is fair and impartial, with the chances of someone getting the number you want is just as fair as everyone else. Nobody argued for everyone to start pulling the numbered sticks. The numbers were as followed. 1. Su. 2. Kanoko. 3. Itsuka. 4. Mina. 5. Kyoka. 6. Ochako. 7. Yui. 8. Abara. 9. Najire. 10. Momo. 11. Pony. 6. Yay. I get the first solo date. Again, I can't fully understand her. I really need to learn English when I get the chance. I sighed to myself before we went over the basics. So 1 and 2 will have Monday. 3 and 4 Tuesday, 5 and 6 Wednesday, 7 and 8 Thursday, 9 and 10 Friday, and 11 for Saturday. On Sunday, we'll let Izuku have the day to himself since he at least deserves that. Kendo pointed this out for us to acknowledge how this was going to happen. So you've got a nice-sized harem, huh? We look over to see Mom hanging out by the door with Aunt Ryu next to her. Nicely done, Izuku. It appears you have quite the batch of women beside you that adores you. I go red at this before Mom starts to laugh. Alright ladies. I'm gonna need you all to head home before it gets too dark. I'll lead you all home. Aunt Ryu said this for every girl to give me a kiss on the cheek or on the lips depending on who it was. I smiled at this before getting my hair ruffled. Alright Mr. Playboy, I got delivery coming. So why don't we sit down and you can tell me everything about your little harem now? Can we not? I don't like talking about this stuff to you. Hey, don't give me lip, or I'll remind you what you kiss when you do. I cover my mouth remembering that Mom kicks me when I complain to the point she says I kiss her foot. Can someone tell me why I have to talk to my mom about my relationships? Izuku Pav. The next day of class finally came with everyone kinda happy to get back into the school. Personally, I was at least happy avoiding Mom's constant arguing that I need to take it slow. The only thing I could think was that this was coming from the woman that literally lives every day like it was her last. As I walked into the classroom, I noticed Ochako start making some kind of strange fighting stance with a killer aura around her normally bubbly attitude. As Ochako okay? I walked up to Sue as she was piecing together what she knew. Apparently her work study opened martial arts to her and she's become a very skilled wielder of gunhead martial arts ribbit. Ah, that makes sense. Everyone around looked at me confused. Martial arts can go to some people and change their demeanor if given the chance. I kept watching her pose before sighing to come up and hug her. Almost instantaneously, The aura around her vanished and she became red as a tomato. Izuku, you're scaring everyone. Not that I blame you for wanting to show your excitement, but maybe taking it into moderation would be better. Oh okay. Everyone started to stare for me to let go and sit in my seat with my face completely red. A few minutes passed with Mr. Aizawa walking inside. Good morning class. Good morning Mr. Aizawa. Our teacher got to the podium where he began to speak. Starting next week, all hero classes will be cut in half for end-of-term finals. If you've been paying attention to the course up till now and took decent notes, you should be fine. His comment was rather blunt with Kaminari and Mina wincing. Granted, I don't blame them for being at the bottom of the class for grades. Maybe I can ask Momo about making a study session. Since we began officially dating, I asked the girls if they'd rather me use their first names with none of them having anything against it. It's a little difficult for some, but it's definitely harder because I'm used to using their last names. Classes continued after Mr. Aizawa's announcement like normal with the classes being mainly reviewing classes and self-study. When I had the chance, I talked to Momo about maybe doing a group study session. When given the offer, she couldn't say yes fast enough for some difficulty for our friends being almost gone completely. During lunch, aw man, I can't even fill in the answers in a normal test. I'm so screwed for the end of term final. Mina held her head down in frustration for me and Momo to speak up. You know, we could do a group study session. Me and Momo were talking about it during the break today to think maybe it's a good idea. Agreed. It will also give us time together since we most likely will not have that privilege when we begin studying for the finals. Mina jumped up to hold both our hands with stars in her eyes. You really mean it, you're both the best. She kept a smile from ear to ear before giving me a kiss on the lips to make me go red. Well, it's only fair. I mean we're all in this together. And we can make it a big study session with the girls from Class B. I was trying to finish my sentence when something hit the back of my head. Ow, that hurt. I looked back to see none other than Monoma with his regular laughing face that, to be honest, was starting to get on my nerves. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bump into your arrogant head. It seems that your ego was just so big that I couldn't avoid it. I let a sigh out before turning to finish eating. Just don't say anything, Izuku. He's only mean if you acknowledge him. I tried to remember Aunt Ryu's saying of not saying anything to a person if you don't have anything nice to say. Unfortunately, he didn't get the memo and kept bothering me. With people like you always around, no wonder you rely on my class for everything. I mean you wouldn't be able to do anything if you didn't have any of your Class A scum friends or my class's quirks to help you. Face it, you're just some weakling that has to rely on other people's po. He was cut off by a karate chop to the back of the neck. Courtesy of Itsuka. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, Monoma? Leave Izuku out of your rants. She seemed more angry than normal to toss Monoma to one of her male classmates and sit on the other side of me. I'm so sorry for him. If he did anything to hurt you, it's fine. Aunt Ryu always told me that if you don't have anything nice to say to someone, don't say anything at all. Words of wisdom. We continued eating with Pony, Hino, Yui, and Abara joining our table. So does anyone know what the final exams will be for the physical part? Sue asked for Itsuka to give us some relief. I talked to an upperclassman before, he said it was robots. Why didn't I think to ask Najire or Tamaki? You seriously had that slip your mind? Everyone looked at me amazed for me to sigh. Granted, he must have quite a bit on his plate for something like this to slip his mind. At least Abara is avoiding the fact I was kinda dumb during this. I kept thinking of the robot part to kinda fall into the retrospect that it would be too easy for some of us since the fear they give would be worn off. I'll see everyone in class. If you girls in Class B wanna join, we're going to do a group study session for finals if you wanna join. That sounds awesome. Sweet. Yeah, no worries for finals. I wonder if someone in the school has a mind-reading quirk that would make when she does this easier. I take my leave so I can head towards Recovery Girl's office to finally get the stitches out. As I sat in the office, she used a pair of tweezers to pull them out one at a time. The feeling of them leaving my body literally felt awkward as anything before she finished and placed a gauze on my stomach. Let that be a lesson to you and don't do something so reckless again. Yes ma'am. I'm sorry. I held my head down for her to sigh. I did hear that you helped a pro hero at the time as well as protect one of your own classmates. Though your heart was in the right place, young man, that doesn't mean you did the smartest thing you could do. Then again, your mother is always the type to jump head first and ask questions later, so I shouldn't be surprised. I start putting my uniform's top half back on before Recovery Girl stopped me. One last thing, All Might is looking for you. He's in the faculty lounge. Thank you ma'am. I bowed before heading out and towards the faculty lounge to talk with one of my idol's teachers. All Might sir, I heard you were looking for Mom. I stopped my sentence when I noticed Mom in the faculty lounge eating a carrot while talking to All Might. Sup Izuku, why are you here? Want to make sure you didn't neglect going to Recovery Girl's office to take those stitches out. So did you. Yes, I actually just came from there. Good. Now the second is to be around this idiot when he tells you what he should have off the bat. Mom points at All Might for him to sigh. The room is clear from onlookers over there. Let's use that to explain. We moved to the inside of the vacant room where I sat on a chair across from my mom and teacher who were sitting on a sofa. So are you gonna tell him what you neglected or should I? Mom stated this with a little aggravation for All Might to stiffen. What is she talking about, All Might? Sigh, I wasn't telling you the entire truth when I talked about OFA. Before going into detail, do you remember what I told you when you first inherited the quirk? I thought back to do my All Might impersonation to add to the emphasis. 11. Now, eat this. Ahahaha. Mom began laughing uncontrollably while holding her ribs at my act. Not exactly what I was meaning. I was referring to the part about acquiring my DNA to transfer the quirk. I remembered this before going completely pale. Wait, so was I unintentionally giving OFA to the girls I'm dating and them giving it back to me? Question mark quote. Wait, but to do that your tongue or theirs would have to. Quote. Mom smirked before commenting. You cheeky devil. I guess those condoms I gave you were coming in hand. It's not like that. I panicked a bit before trying to explain. I mean some of the girls slipped their tongues in my mouth. Sure, it's just them. She kept snickering at me before All Might clarified for me. I could honestly question you farther about your relationship situation in regardless to a teacher, but that's not the issue here. Let me just clarify that OFA has to be willingly passed on to someone with the holder accepting the power transfer. It can't be taken away, but it can be forced upon. This comment piqued my interest for All Might to continue. You see, this all started around the start of the quirk era. There was a man whose name was lost to time. However, his quirk was known and has gone by the name for up to today. All for one. A quirk that can steal quirks from people and place them in a vegetative state after as well as use or give them to other people. This however could cause the people who obtained the quirks to become brain dead. My blood went cold when I heard what the side effects of the quirk is. You won't hear this in history books, but this man had nearly taken control of all of Japan at one point in the past. But he's gone, right? All Might went silent with no form of relief in my question. What happened to him then? Also, what does this have to do with Alpha? The man had a younger brother. He believed he was quirkless. Whether it was out of pity or out of spite is unknown, but the older brother had given his younger brother a stockpiling quirk. But unknown to both, the younger brother had a quirk to pass down quirks. These two combined in order to become one for all. I looked down at my hand to realize just what this was about. So the quirk I have from you is the younger brother's. Yes, though the younger brother couldn't beat his brother in person, he gave his quirk to the next generation to hopefully defeat his brother. Unfortunately, none have been able to do this until myself. My mind went back to his injury to realize what it was from. You fought him, the older brother, didn't you? I did. A few years back, but I believed he was gone due to the fact he didn't show any form of activity for up to 5 years. Though the Nomu or whatever that was at the USJ is proof enough as well as the being similar to the one from before are more than enough to say he isn't gone. This means one day you might have to face AFO. I understood to clench my fist in determination. I'll face him when the time comes. And we'll do that together. This seemed to worry both Mom and All Might for a moment before I glanced at the clock. I'm sorry sir, but I need to go to class. No worries. I'm here to help if you need it. I left the room to run towards my class. AFO. Whoever he is, he's gotta be tough to beat All Might. 3. Miriko Pav. I waited a few minutes to make sure Izuku was long gone before I spoke up. So you didn't tell him the entire truth. Why? It's not worth not telling him the unnecessary parts right now. What part of Izuku now knowing you might die in the year is unnecessary? The boy idolizes you, he sighed before answering. It's not in his best interest to find this out. The less he knows about that, the less he'll worry about me. And what do you think he'll say when he finds out you kept this from him? He looks at you like an icon for what he wants to be. A man that everyone loves and respects. That's exactly why I don't want to tell him. If I were to, then that would make every little fight I get into until the actual one force him to fear I die. I held my tongue for the time as he explained the best he could. Young Usugiyama has already learned of the man he may have to face one day. Now unlike me, you know everything about the past users and myself from start to finish and are most likely able to fill in the gaps if I may no longer be around to do so. Counting you, there are only 5 others who know of the truth behind the secrets of OFA and my life expectancy. 2 being in this school, 1 being an old friend, another being an old mentor, and the last being Night Eye. If the unimaginable were without a doubt to happen, then that would mean he would have to be guided by someone in order to properly become what I failed to be. Unfortunately, you are the only one close enough among all 6 that can help. I know you hate keeping secrets like these that you deem your son needs to learn important, but understand that I need him to learn these things within time with now not being the right. I mulled it over in my head before answering. Fine, but if this AFO asshole or you bite the dust, I'm not going to keep this from Izuku. As your successor and as someone that wants to try and fit your shoes to most likely do so, he deserves to learn of this whether from you or from me. 2. I walked out of the faculty lounge to start walking away. As I did, I went over everything All Might said about his quirk and what Izuku may face. A man who's lived over 100 years. Monsters that can hold more than 1 quirk and be mindless killing machines. A power that even to this day is unpredictable to even the 8th user's knowledge. All Might's unspeakable death this year or the next. Sigh, if I would have known this was the issue that Izuku would face with this quirk from the beginning, I'd tell the idiot blonde to take Night Eye's suggestion instead to avoid any problems for Izuku. My phone started vibrating to see the name being the fucking flying chicken. 1. Jackass. Yo Miriko, wanna hang out tonight? I got an awesome reservation to that downtown restaurant that opened up lately. Oh, for the love of fucking God. Does he never take a hint? I was about to answer. No. But the fact my time at UA has been down the crapper somewhat made me know I need some time to myself. Me? You know what, fine. But you're the one picking up the bill. Got it. 9. He answered back agreeing for a sigh to come out of me. He better not be doing something stupid in order to get me in the same bed. Rumi Pav. 1. Bye mom. Don't forget, I'm having your Uncle Fat pick you up since I have something I need to do today. Okay. I watched Izuku run off to school with today being the day before his winter break. On the outside, I was completely cool. But inside is a different story. Hilly fuck, I need to get my ass in gear with Christmas. I ran as fast as I could, calling Ryoko who was helping me today. Hello, I'm heading to get the tree now. You got the ornaments? I do, and I looked at the tree stores. They don't have by that aren't missing limbs in a notable way. Damn it. I'll head out of town to find one. Wait, you're wah. I shut my phone off to jump into the air and head as close to the woods as possible. When I got there, I began looking around for a decent pine tree. Now which one would be okay to use? I began searching before seeing Ryoko in her dragon form flying near me. She transformed to land on the ground carrying the bags of decorations. You're not serious about looking and chopping down your own tree, right? I ignored her and found one I liked. This one looks nice. Fire in the hole. I gave a solid kick to the trunk for it to go through and have the tree rock back. Tim Beer RRR. The tree fell in the snow for Ryoko to glare at me. Are you insane? No, I just want a nice Christmas for Izuku. She smacked her head while I did a little trimming to get the tree small enough to fit in my home. After, I looked at Ryoko with a smirk. What, you honestly think I'm lugging this thing home myself? She rolled her eyes before transforming into her dragon form. I got the tree on before sitting on her neck. Now mush, you whip me, I'm dropping both you and the tree. I started to laugh while Ryoko sighed. The things I'll do for Izuku. I know, right? I wonder what he's doing today for class. Probably something like a small Christmas party with everyone. We flew out of the area while I thought about what Ryoko said. I wonder what we should do for a Christmas dinner and Christmas Eve dinner. Should I also get cookies? 2. With Izuku. Izuku Pav. Okay kids. Today we'll be having a Christmas party. For those that didn't finish their Christmas gifts to their family yet, you can finish that while we celebrate. Everyone cheered as I pulled out my gift to Mom, Aunt Ryu, and Uncle Fat. My uncle's was about done with me only needing to put a bit more on it along with my aunt's. Mom's though needed a bit more time. Whatcha working on Izuku? Kino and Yui came over curious to see my presents to smile. It looks so coof. It really does. The teacher soon came over curious while I finished Aunt Ryu's gift. What do you have here Izuku? Just a Christmas present for my family. Would you mind if I take a look at your gifts? I gave my finished gift to her and her seeing what I did. Oh my goodness. She was staring at a picture on painting boards before showing it to me. You did this all by yourself Izuku. Amazing. The lines are so precise and the shading is almost like I'm looking at the real thing. How did a 6-year-old draw this? We looked at our teacher for her to be so caught up in thought I had to tap her elbow. Teacher, can I have my aunt's gift back? Sure. She gave it back before seeing me finish Uncle Fat's. Izuku, how did you do all these? I shrugged my shoulders so, I just knew what they looked like and I drew them. Do you think they'll like them? I grabbed Mom's for the teacher to see that one with me hiding it. It's not finished yet, please don't look. Teacher went silent after seeing a little of what I did and collapsed not long after. Teacher. Everyone went around her for our teacher to slowly wake up. What happened? You saw Izuku's gift and flew over shroom. She got up before smiling at me. Izuku, you have a gift for art. I hid my eye a bit before looking away. It's not that big of a deal. I just know how to draw. On the contrary Izuku, during winter break, I want to try and get you into a school for specially gifted kids. What do you say? I thought about it and looked at Yui and Kino. I don't know. Will I have to leave my friends? A small price, but your talents would be properly nurtured. Talent like yours isn't something that should go to waste. No thanks. If I need to leave Kino and Yui, then it's not worth it to me. The teacher looked at me shocked while trying to reply. But this is truly something you need to show the world. You should make it grow in the surrounding it should be. I'm okay with just being more gifted in a few things than everyone else. I'm not in it to show off. I smiled for the teacher to look at me shocked. Well if you don't mind, I'd like to at least run this through your mother when I can. Okay, but I still don't wanna do this. She left for Kino and Yui to look at me. Why didn't you wanna stay here? You cow do coof things. Maybe, but I'd have to leave you both. I just don't wanna do that. I like you both too much to do that. Both went red for some reason for me to begin back on my Christmas gift for Mom. 3. Few hours later, Rumi Pav. After getting the tree and the ornaments inside the house, Ryoko and me went food shopping for some stuff that would make a good Christmas as well as some things that Izuku would like to have for under the tree. So what does Izuku do in his spare time? He doodles. Ryoko looked at me confused. He doodles. Yeah. You should see what he doodles on the back of his notebook. Some are kinda awesome. He also knows how to draw some awesome things out of mental memory. Such as, he's drawn our house from memory alone as well as his friends Komori and Kodai. He's pretty good. We walked past a set of drawing utensils for professionals as well as a sketch notepad. Perhaps making him feel more professional could help. After grabbing it, I find an All Might figurine as well as a Yukio figure that Izuku's been dying to save for. Maybe we should get these for him too. I grab them and keep searching with Ryoko for other things. So he likes me as a hero, huh? Yup. He thinks we're both really cool. You should see his room. Literally a hero otaku's paradise. I kept laughing before seeing a pair of mini-mix martial arts gloves in Izuku's size. We need to get him these. He's a child. What will he do with fighting gloves? Train to be a MMA master. I held my mouth for a second while Ryoko came to the realization. You're teaching him MMA, aren't you? Maybe a little. She gave me a death stare before I answered. What? He wants to be a hero, so it's only natural I give him a few lessons of how to fight in order to increase his chances of defending himself. Besides, it's also teaching him self-discipline, which is good for kids to learn. Ryoko sighed at me before continuing to walk. Get him what you want. I'm going to find a little sweater for him to wear for my gift to him. We went our separate ways in the store, with me finding some notebooks that are the same kind he uses for his hero notebooks. He's reaching the end of his one that he's working on. I should probably get a couple more to help him out. Ryoko paw. While Rumi gets Izuku some gifts for Christmas, I find a sweater for him that had All Might on it. Ah, I can see him wearing this. I keep walking before I see something definitely worth my while. A jacket based off of his mother's hero outfit. He'll love this. I went to grab it before a woman tried to steal it out of my hands. Get lost, bitch. I'm taking this. I apologize, but I had a hold on it first. Screw you. The woman punched my face with my grip on the jacket remaining strong. Now you've done it. I knee the woman in the stomach to leave her on the ground while walking away with my prize. I reunited with Rumi at the checkout line with her having a bunch of things. I take it your endeavors were successful. Hell yeah. Can medical assistants report to aisle 4 please? I look at Rumi for a moment for her to smirk. What? They didn't want to let go of what I had in my hands. I sigh before hearing another announcement from the speaker. Can we have medical assistants report to aisle 7 please? Guess I can't blame her this time. 16. Few hours later, Izuku paw. Class ended with me, Kino, and Yui walking out to our parents. There, I saw Uncle Fat sitting down eating a gingerbread man. Hey Izuku. Ready to head home? I smiled while nodding. I turned though to Kino and Yui, who were with their parents getting ready to leave. Bye Kino. Bye Yui. I'll see you all after Christmas. I give them a hug before running over to Uncle Fat, who picked me up and put me on his shoulder. Cookie. Thank you. He gave me a gingerbread man while we walked down the street. So you excited for Christmas? Yeah, I have all my gifts for Mom, Aunt Ryu, and you done as well. I took a bite of my cookie as we started heading home. So what do you want Santa to bring you? I thought about it before shrugging. I don't know. Maybe a new notebook. The one I'm using is getting very full. Hee hee. You just want a notebook. I think you can think of other things you'd like. I thought about it while shrugging my shoulders. I didn't really know. To be honest, I got probably the best thing this year and I'm happy about it. 2. Uncle Fat gave me a bit of a crying smile before hugging me. You're such a good kid Izuku. Don't do something to change that kind heart of yours. He kept crying before noticing someone coming down from the sky. What's up Fatgum? Miriko's kid. Pervert. I smiled at Pervert with him feeling a bit annoyed at what I called him. Why do you always have to call me that? It's Hawks. Not Pervert. Mom calls you Pervert and doesn't tell me not to. So why is it bad? He didn't answer before pulling something out of his pocket. It was a small gift. You wanna give this to your mother for me kid? I grabbed the box before putting it in the trash like Mom tells me to whenever I get something from Pervert. What are you doing kid? Doing what my mom tells me whenever I get something from you. Throwing it out. Uncle Fat began laughing and falling down while Pervert grabbed the box out of the trash and flew away. I don't like him. He says weird things about Mom that gives me the okay from her to kick him in the balls if he says them again. 10. Time skip to Christmas Eve night. Alright, dinner's ready. Aunt Ryu says for me to run into the kitchen and be picked up by Mom. Seems you're in high spirits tonight. She smiled while placing me in the chair with Uncle Fat to the right of me and Mom sitting on the left. Okay, time to eat. Everyone put their hands together and smiled at what was on the table. Thank you for the food. Mom grabbed my plate to start putting ham, potatoes and a bunch of salmon on it. Aunt Ryu though put some vegetables on before she left no room for anything else. I grabbed my fork and started eating right away, with Mom making a plate for herself, stuffing her face as well. The way you two act, you'd almost think you both were actually related. Aunt Ryu said, with both of us glancing over to see the other with their face stuffed with food. I don't get it. Aren't we already family? I kept filling my mouth before finishing and getting seconds. After we finished dinner, we sat down on the sofa to watch a few Christmas movies, with it getting close to bedtime. Alright, it's starting to get late. I think you should turn it in for the night, Izuku. I yawned before nodding. Good night, Mom. Good night, Aunt Ryu. Good night, Uncle Fat. Good night, Izuku. Sleep tight, kiddo. I walked into my bedroom and noticed the gifts in my bag. Oh yeah, I forgot. I pulled them out to place them under the tree before heading back to bed. Roomy Pav. Izuku went back in his room after putting 3 presents under the tree, with all of us waiting a half an hour before I checked to make sure he was out like a light. I came back out for Ryoko to ask. He's asleep, out cold. Then let's get to work. Me and Ryoko went into the storage closet to get the gifts while Fatso started on the cookies and milk. Who made the she? I did. You know Rumi can't cook or bake to save her life. Oh come on, I'm not that bad. Both of them looked at me to force me to rephrase my words. I got better. They kept looking at me with a blank face. Okay, can we keep going? 14. I placed the gifts under the tree while Ryoko filled Izuku's stocking. Meanwhile, Fatso was making sure Izuku was still asleep. When we were done, everyone called it a night and started heading home. I'll be here early to see him open gifts. I got a day shifts, but I'll be here before I need to go in. I walked them out before shutting the door and heading into my room. Before I did though, I checked in on Izuku to see him sleeping soundly. Good night, Izuku. I kissed his right eye where the scar was before going into my room to sleep. The next morning, I got up to the sound of knocking to see the time on the clock. That's probably Ryoko and Fatso. I came out to open the door and see them waiting patiently for me. Sup? Sup nothing. We've been waiting here for half an hour. My bad. I just got up, yawn. Sigh, did you get Izuku up yet? Not yet. I walked into Izuku's room to see him sleeping with his foot near the head of the bed and the resto of him turned around. Izuku. Time to get up. It's Christmas. He got up to look at me before smiling. Does that mean I can give you, Aunt Ryu and Uncle Fat, my gifts? Yeah, they're waiting out in the living room. He got up and began heading out while stretching. When he came in the room, Izuku looked in awe at the tree. He then ran for the gifts he had before giving the ones he had for the 3 of us. Merry Christmas. Izuku sat down patiently for all of us to open ours for me to just go ahead. When I did, I noticed it was a drawing. But it wasn't just a drawing. It was one of me in my hero costume. Holy crap, Izuku. This is awesome. Rumi. Language. Ryoko and Fatso opened up theirs for it to be the same exact thing but of them. Did someone make these for you, Izuku? I made them myself, Uncle Fat. Ryoko looked at me with surprise while I explained. I told you he's pretty good. When you said, good, I didn't expect you to say he was this good. Do you not like it, Aunt Ryu? Izuku looked at her with tears in his eyes before Ryoko corrected herself. Actually, I like it very much. I just think it's very good for your age and that you might want to try doing something with it. No thanks. My teacher asked me that too, with me not wanting to leave Kino and Yui for a new school. She glanced at me for a response. He doesn't wanna do it, he doesn't have to do it. His talent, his right to it. Izuku began looking at his presents before picking one of them that had a figurine in it. When he opened and realized what we got him, his face lit up like a light bulb. Same thing happened with all his gifts for me to somewhat gloat that my gloves for him was a good gift behind Izuku's back to Ryoko. When he finally got to his aunts and uncles' gifts, he smiled and hugged them before opening them. When he saw the sweater and jacket from Ryoko, he ran to her and hugged, thanking her for them. Then it came to Fatso's. He got Izuku a 101 easy recipes that kids can make. I felt angered, but Izuku was happy to get it and gave the giant tub of lard a hug as well. Eventually, Fatso had to leave with the rest of the day being Izuku enjoying his gifts and trying out his new gloves on a small punching bag I have in the house. All I can say though to this Christmas is that it's one he'll never forget. Rumi Pav. Alright, how do I look? I came out of my room with a dress on that kinda made my tail itch just cause of no hole in the back to poke it out to ask Izuku and the girls. Looks nice, but the perv might think you're trying to sleep with him with a jet black thin shoulder strap dress. Izuku gave his honest answer for me to shrug it off. He tries shit, and I'll whop his ass. While also ruining a good dress in the process. I've had this thing for years. If it hasn't ripped yet, then we're good. The girls were kinda impressed on how I looked with Kanoko asking a question. Why don't you wear something like this more often, Shroom? The back doesn't have a tail hole. It feels like someone's pushing my tail to my back when I wear it. I think I can help with that. Momo came over with a small pair of scissors and a small sewing kit to cut behind the dress and make a small hole. There. Now see about putting your tail through the hole and we'll adjust it as needed. I poked my tail through for it to actually feel a lot better. Can't see any large gaps of space, doesn't seem to be too tight. I think we are good, Ms. Usugiyama. Thank you. Kinda liked this dress. It's no trouble. I was just doing what I was taught at a young age. The fact she knew how to sew was impressive to me. I gave a smirk to Izuku while pointing to her. Make sure to keep her happy. He went red a bit for me to laugh at his innocence. So what's on your agendas tonight? Well, we decided to do a group study session to get ready for the finals. Ochako gave a smile with Izuku continuing. Mina's grades aren't the greatest with most of us not exactly so confident in some of our classes to do a group study session. Not bad. Kinda figured Neji'd be here. She has some of her own difficulties as she said. Her, Tamaki, Miriko and a few of their other friends are doing the same thing. But we promised we'd give her a day to herself since we're all spending time without her. Good boy, Izuku. We hear the doorbell ring for me and Izuku to roll our eyes. Gotta run. My night's free meal is here. I opened the door to see the human chicken with a suit on and flowers. Yo, looking good, Miriko. He gave a smirk before saying something stupid. Dress though would look better on my bedroom floor. I kicked his nuts for him to kneel down in pain. 13. Any other sexual comments you've got? None, at the moment. He held up a set of flowers that looked kinda expensive. These are for you. I grabbed them for the perv to fall to the ground in pain. These look nice. Izuku, can you put these in some water so they last longer? On it. He grabbed the flowers to put them in one of our nice vases that he keeps around when he makes flower arrangements when we've got guests. At least he got something nice from being around this perv a decent amount of time. Alright, enough holding your balls. Come with me. We walked out to a car he owned while wanting to keep a low profile to hop in the front seat. Whoa, sweet. I began playing with the automatic seat leverage and extension for the legs a bit while the chicken got in the driver's side. He waited a few minutes for me to finish before we began to drive off. 5. Izuku Pav. As I watched Mom play with the buttons before driving away, I couldn't help but smirk knowing the perv isn't getting lucky tonight. So is your mom and Hawks like, dating or something? Not exactly, Itsuka. It's Mora. He tries to date my mom, but she busts his balls metaphorically and literally depending on his choice of words. I would assume so if that presentation they had done before was at all accurate. That's just a hello with the Mabara. If you really wanna see her pissed, you should have seen him ask me to give a list of sexual comments to Mom. He sounded like a member of the girls' choir for about a week. Everyone was amazed as there was a few cases and interviews Hawks made that had him speak in a very unusual way. We continued back to work with a starting Japanese literature next. Izuku. You're good at both Japanese and English, right? Pony asked me to nod. You need a little help. I'm having difficulties with it. Please. I happily did what I could and helped Pony so she wouldn't fall behind while also helping keep Mina on track with what things should be written as while Momo took the lead in giving a somewhat remedial lesson so to speak. I wonder if Mom's gonna turn Hawks nuts to paste by the end of the night. 1. With Rumi and Hawks, Rumi Pav. Alright, we're here. The chicken stopped the car with us getting out and some valet coming over to park the car. We walked in for the slightly lit restaurant to be kinda filled. Most of them looked like actors or some snazzy suit-wearing stiffs, but the atmosphere was at least good. Mr. Takami, I presume. Some butler guy asked for the chicken to answer yes. Right this way please. He sat us at a table and gave us some menus to go off of before leaving. Crap, this stuff sounds weird. Why can't people be fine with a freaking burger and fries? Not everyone wants to eat like a teenager. Whatever. I looked down to find something I could at least understand, since everything sounded French to the point I couldn't understand what the hell half the stuff was. Where's Izuku or Ryoko when you need them? I eventually found something I could understand to order that, with the chicken ordering some weird ass sounding shit before we started talking. So Izuku looked like he was doing well. Yep, he's kicking ass and talking names. Proud of him. 3. I can see where he learns that from. Some waiter came by and offered us some weird ass wine that I couldn't pronounce. I accepted it just cause the chicken was paying for it and tried it. For a nice looking place, couldn't they have better tasting booze? It's not beer, it's wine. It's meant to be tasted with some finesse and not chugged. I ignore him while chugging the whole glass, with him freezing in his spot at my way of drinking the stuff. Look, you can keep your fancy stuff for someone that cares. I ain't someone that looks for that. If something's good, I'll take that. If I gotta have finesse, as you say, then I'm fine with a 6-pack and calling it a night. I'll keep that in mind. The food came out with it looking kinda small portion size. So do people with class not eat or something? I ask while poking a small piece of chicken I got. Kinda, but I'm used to this, so I guess it's kinda small for others. I start eating with somewhat taking Izuku for granted, since this stuff is nothing compared to his cooking. I wonder what Izuku's doing right now. 1. Meanwhile with Izuku, third person POV. The group began wrapping up their study session with Izuku throwing something for everyone to eat to heat up in the oven. So how do you think the date with your mom's going, Izuku? Yui questions while drinking a glass of water. Either mom kicked the perv's balls into non-existence or she's drowning in a sea of high-class snobs. Best guess is the second one if we're honest. She doesn't exactly seem that big on being prim and proper ribbit. Her motto is, make things simple when you can. Not everything's gotta be complicated. Sounds like Hawks is in for a fun night. That he is, Kyoka. That he is. 1. With Hawks and Miriko. The two were about finished with their dinner for them to see the dessert menu with nothing sticking out to the rabbit hero. So anything look good to you? Hawks asked personally, thinking the tart was something to try. Any chance we can try somewhere else for dessert? I'm kind of feeling a bit out of place here. Rumi wasn't exactly fond of having stares at her from everyone, thinking she was rather uncultured for Hawks to agree. Alright, I'll just pay, and we'll be on our way. He flagged the waiter down for the check and paid with the rabbit hero seeing the bill. She wasn't exactly expecting a cheap meal from Hawks, but she didn't plan for him to drop a large amount at the drop of a hat. The rabbit hero started to feel a bit of guilt to begin thinking of something nice she could do for him in return. They left the restaurant and started heading down the street before Rumi stopped him so they could get dessert at a small little cake shop. This place had always been mine and Izuku's favorite place to go when we'd have a little something to reward ourselves for the hard work we do. Looks kinda cute. Hawks walked inside with Rumi before being greeted by a small old man who seemed rather happy. Hello. It's been a while, Rumi. How's Izuku these days? He's doing well, old man. What do you recommend out of your stuff? I just made the red velvet and German chocolate cakes today. Sold. One of each, please. The old man happily packed a piece of both cakes in containers and rung them up. When Hawks was gonna pay, Rumi held her hand out to give the old man the payment for the treats. You paid for dinner. I'm paying for this. But didn't you wanna? You think I'm too fucking blind to see you spent a crap load on that meal that wasn't as filling as you'd wanna believe. Sorry, but I'm paying for tea. Rumi elbowed Hawks in the gut before paying and dragging the pro out with her and the cakes. They sat in the car relaxing while eating, with Rumi enjoying the German chocolate cake. Hawks was rather surprised at the taste being rather soft and expected it to be kinda dry if anything. Like it. The old man knows how to make some awesome cakes. It's good. Really impressive that something like this was here. Rumi smiled while taking some of her cake to her mouth. We kind of foon dish plash by accident. She swallowed what was in her mouth before continuing. This guy's the sweetest old man you'd ever meet. 2. You know about him. We had a good amount of time to chat. Apparently, this shop was opened by him and his late wife about 40 years ago. When she died about 10 years ago, he didn't have the heart to get rid of this place that the two spent so much time and effort doing. They weren't able to have kids themselves, but they'd try and be part of their community by offering sweets to special fundraisers for the community's youth. When she passed away due to cancer, he felt like he'd get rid of the last of his wife's memory if he got rid of the store. Sounds like he's a good person. Yeah, he treated Izuku with good intentions. The old man even said he sees the kindness his wife had in Izuku. The two smiled, thinking of how Izuku and the older man would get along together before noticing some guys walk into the store. That's kinda sketchy, Hawks points out, seeing the three that walked in covering their faces for the two to walk out of the car and listen inside. Look, you three don't have to do this. Why don't you put the guns down and walk away with us, all acting like it never happened? A loud bang was heard with some more yelling inside. Just give us the cash, old man, and we won't kill you. One of the goons shouted for Rumi to kick the door down and jump at the guy that shot the gun. As she roundhouses him, she turned to the other two, clearly pissed off. Who else wants to pick on the old man? She was fit to be tied. Here was a sweet old man she liked that they were trying to mug while he's trying to calmly tell them this doesn't have to happen. Kill her. One of the other two goons shouted, with them getting 2 feathers to their hands and another 2 to their heads that went back to Hawks. Sorry fellas, but this is still part of our job. Rumi jumped the counter in fear for the older man, making sure he wasn't hurt. They didn't hurt you, did they? I'm fine, Rumi, but thank you for worrying for me. It means a lot to know there are still people that wish for others' safety over their own. The older man smiled for Rumi to give a smile back. I just called the cops. They'll be here to pick these guys up in a few minutes. Guess this'll be something to tell Izuku when I get home. The two tied the thugs up in case they'd wake up and get some funny ideas for the police to come shortly and apprehend them. When they did, Rumi and Hawks continued their date, with it finishing up and the rabbit hero being dropped off at her home. When she turned around to face Hawks. This surprisingly wasn't as crappy a night as I thought it'd be. Thanks, I guess. When they got to the door, Rumi started to smirk a little, thinking of what Izuku might have been up to. What's up? I wonder if Izuku got a taste of adulthood yet. Well, if he's as quick off the whip as his own mother, he might have tonight. This remark gave Hawks a playful punch to the shoulder by Rumi. Ow. What the heck, I didn't even hit you that hard. Damn wuss. Rumi began to laugh before giving Hawks a small peck on the cheek. That was for having my back tonight. Hawks felt his cheek for a moment before smiling a little. So what do I have to do to get in your bedroom? Hawks was given a kick to the crotch thanks to his comment to somewhat level him. Next time, try not to end on a crappy sex note. You might get more positives from me to actually make me not regret dating you somewhat. Good night, chicken. Rumi walked into the house and noticed Izuku and the girls out cold in the living room with their textbooks opened. Poor kids, working hard. She grabbed a few spare blankets and covered everyone before seeing Izuku wake up. Hey mom, how was the date with the perv? Not bad. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it about a 7. He would have gotten a solid 8 if he didn't make a sex joke at the end. I'm glad you liked it. Izuku fell back to sleep with Rumi going to change and somewhat held some satisfaction over tonight. I guess if we'd have time or something, another date wouldn't be so bad. Just hope he takes what I said about the joke at the end seriously and scumbags won't attack where we are. She decides to head to bed with some satisfaction of the night. Izuku Pav. 3. The days leading to the final exam were counted down in what seemed like a flash. Me and the girls worked as hard as we could, with us putting in a lot of late nights just so we'd be ready. I personally wanted to make sure Mina and Pony understood their material the most, since both were really lacking in their class. Mina was more a concentration problem for her studies. She wasn't dumb at all, that's for a fact. It was more a matter of she couldn't commit herself to something that she couldn't have a little fun with. So I tried to make it so she could have a little fun memorizing the information. It worked. Pony's main problem was just Japanese. Since she wasn't from Japan and was learning Japanese while here, she couldn't understand the problems or just how to read the kanji as well as everyone else, to unfortunately have her grades slip cause of this. Fortunately, with some help from me and Momo, she's able to know the language well enough where she can read it enough that we're all confident in her for the exams. The time we had for the test ended with Mr. Aizawa calling it. Pencils down. Last person in each row collect the answer sheets. Momo collected our sheets in our row with Mina being somewhat confident. Kaminari on the other hand was somewhat panicking. I overheard from Kachin that him and some of the guys did their own cram session with Kaminari barely able to keep up. If I would have known, I'd have asked him if he wanted to join me and the girls, but I'm sure Kachin did all he could to make sure he's alright. Put on your hero costumes and meet me outside. By the buses. After changing, we found ourselves outside waiting for Mr. Aizawa and noticed that him and the teachers came with 2 students. Shinso. I walked over to Shinso to see him smirk at me. Nice to see you again, Usugiyama. Hi there. A girl with her hair in messy buns came over and smiled at me. Hello. You were the general studies student that was in the finals of the sports festival, right? Yup. I'm Toga. Hamiko Toga. She looked over to see Kachin and smiled. Blasty. I told you not to call me that. Kachin seemed to be kinda mad at her, but strangely not the mad he normally is. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something was different. 2. Kachin. You know her. He turned away from all of us while answering. Maybe. Don't be mean. Last week, you took me and Setsu out on a date and got to see my panties. 21. Wait, what? Don't give them weird thoughts. I just turned around and saw them from where I was on the stairs. Oh, that makes things different. Alright, listen up. Mr. Aizawa gained our attention for Principal Nezu to pop out of his binding cloth. Hello Class A. I'm sure you're all ready to take your final exams today as well as learn from your upperclassmen what today's physical exam will consist of. Mina and Kaminari were excited thinking it was going to be robots. Well, due to some of the recent transactions this year, we figured it might be better if we change our curriculum up a bit to make things less easy for you all. Isn't that exciting? I couldn't telephone if he was actually happy about this, or just straight insane from the way he sounded. Instead of robots, you'll all be facing the teachers. Everyone panicked thinking we'd all lose if we'd be facing them. Don't worry, we'll be holding back, but just enough where you'll all have to work as hard as you can to pass. Between Nezu's and Mr. Aizawa's smile, I couldn't tell who was more scary. And that's why I'm here. I turned around to see Mom smiling to freak. 1. Mom. 1. To make matters simple, each team except for one of 3 consisting of Shinso and Toga will be facing a member of the staff. Your objective will be to either place a pair of cuffs on us or escape the area as an example of first responders to a villain attack. Defeat or withdraw for backup, that is your goal in this. We began going down the list of who was paired against who, with mine being rather unique. Hiroshima and Sato vs Cementos. Asui and Tokiyami vs Ectoplasm. Iida and Ojiro vs Powerloader. Siro and Bakugo be Midnight. Ashido and Kaminari vs Nezu. Jiro and Koda vs Present Mike. Todoroki and Yaoyorozu vs Aizawa. Shoji and Hagakuri vs Snipe. Uraraka and Aoyama vs 13. Usugiyama, Shinso, and Toga vs Miriko. 6. He. Time to see what ya got, Izuku. Mom wrapped her arm around my neck to be somewhat scared on how to manage this. Alright, everyone on the buses. We piled on and began going to one of the training areas with me, Toga and Shinso going to a city area. Once we got off, the 4 of us entered with Mom waiting near the front while we walked near the center. As we did, I tried to get as much information as I could from both Shinso and Toga. I can tell you both right now, Mom's not gonna make this easy on us. We need to come up with a plan. Simple enough. Got anything in mind? I stopped for a minute to think. Right now probably our biggest disadvantage is the fact we know little about each other's quirks, as well as you both don't have as much fighting experience. No offense. You're not wrong. I guess I should start then. My quirk allows me to control someone's mind, as you're already well enough aware. The limit is I need them to respond to something I tell them, and I can only make them do things that require cognitive function. For example, if I tell someone under my control to walk somewhere or hold something, that's fine. However, I can't make them say something that requires brain power like their life backstory. So your limit is only what they can do physically, with my understanding on how to dispel it being rather straightforward of just tapping them on the shoulder or something. I turned my attention to a Toga next. My quirk allows me to transform into someone. I can mimic every physical feature of them. But I can only transform into someone if I have their blood, and if I do a complete transformation with clothes, my own fall off when it's deactivated. So that explains the clothes coming off during the sports festival. I thought about our options before getting an idea. Okay, I got a plan. But this'll only work if both of you follow it and trust me. They nod while I go over the plan as a whole. Third person POV. The buzzer to begin the exam went off for Miriko to begin waiting at the entrance. Alright Izuku, let's see what you learned. Izuku came charging out of nowhere to start fighting one-on-one with his mother for her to take him on blow for blow. Too easy. She grabbed him and threw him over her shoulder. Show me something special. She soon felt something wrap her legs together to see a small binding cloth. Following it to the source, Miriko saw Shinso holding it with all his might. I got her Usugiyama. What now? Izuku recovered from the throw to come at his mother with hardening, and OFA activates in his legs. Take this. Miriko smiled before jumping up and wrapping Izuku in the binding cloth as well before yanking Shinso forward. Both him and Izuku head-butted the other's head to get disoriented while Miriko got the binding cloth off her. Not a bad plan. So where's the third girl? She stopped when she noticed someone grab her from behind. How did you? It's a special trick, I know. All I have to do is hold my breath and not think of anything to become completely invisible to everyone around me. The real problem though to that is not thinking of anything. 5. That's a really cool trick. Miriko was rather impressed the blonde knew a pretty handy trick. Really? Wanna see a cooler one? Sure. Toga was cut off by the rabbit hero jumping back and knocking her into a building. She rolled off the rubble holding her back in pain. Rule number 1 when fighting someone. Don't underestimate anything they do and don't hold punches. Miriko heard movement behind her to move to the side and grab Izuku by the back of his costume. Rule 2. She threw Izuku into Toga with him using the forward momentum to roll over and use the damaged building as a springboard to jump back at Miriko. Always be ready for someone not to go down at the first punch you throw. Izuku's fist was caught by Miriko and hit in the stomach by a foot. Fortunately for him, he had both hardening quirks activated to minimize the damage. Should have guessed she'd almost indent my gut with both Tetsu's and Kirishima's quirk active. She's destroyed steel with her kicks. Izuku flipped to his back to watch his mother hop up. Luna fall. He jumped out of the way in time for the pavement to take the blunt of the impact and cave in from it. For a mom, you sure got a funny way to show affection. Shinso began wrapping Miriko up again while wrapping around a guardrail. Usugiyama. Right. Izuku jumped upwards with rabbit, while merging 10% of OFA, both hardenings, and his hands upwards with big fist, wave motion, and explosion. Active. Packed move. Luna Meteor. He came barreling down at Miriko at insane speeds and force to send a massive shockwave to push both Toga and Shinso back a bit. Getting out of the dust, Izuku came limping out with his leg completely broken in hopes that he got his mother. Usagiyama. Shinso came over to act as support to get the green-haired boy away from the area and looked at the wreckage. I gotta hand it to ya, that was kinda nuts. NNGH, thanks, but it wouldn't have worked if you didn't hold my mom down. Toga started to get up in pain while remembering how they would win. The gate, she limped towards the entrance holding her back before being held down by Miriko who jumped out of the dust cloud. Where do you think you're going? She held her foot on Toga's back with the 3 too tired or not even close to physically capable of taking her down now. Ya nearly had me there, I'll admit to that. But now y'all lost your steam and I'm gonna win this. I wouldn't think so, Izuku said in pain for Miriko to look at him. And what makes you say da? Miriko was frozen in place like she was in a trance for Izuku to smile. Guess our backup plan worked. Before the exam started. Right now, the success will all depend on how well we play our parts specifically. Both Shinso and Toga nodded. Okay. So first off, I'll need you both to find a way to hold my mom down. I know I'm asking a lot since she's not someone you can just do that with, but it depends on if you can do that for me to do what I plan to. And what's that? Shinso asked with Izuku smiling. If we can do this, I'll merge a few quirks together to the point Mom can't come out of it unscathed so easily, but I can only do this once. So it's kinda all or nothing for this plan. If needed, I'll draw her attention off you both in order to do this. If in a corner you see an opening toga, I want you to head out to the entrance. Wait, why me? Between the three of us, you're probably the one with a quirk that is least suitable for combat and is also limited. All Shinso needs to do to have his come into affect is make her talk to him. You on the other hand need blood. Makes sense. Toga thought before putting her fist in the air and smiling. Leave it to Toga, bunny boy. Bunny boy. Both guys thought this before coming back to reality. Okay, but let's say this doesn't work. To my opinion, you're putting a lot on the thought that this actually is foolproof. Yet I can see a lot of stuff going wrong with this. That's where this question comes. Izuku started to blush a bit before playing with his fingers a bit. Would you both wanna be my friends? Both looked confused before agreeing. Not the weirdest request, but I'll be your best friend if you can win this for us. Same here. If Blasty likes you, then I do too. Izuku started to glow purple and yellow before smiling. That's where the backup all else fails plan gets in. My mom is strong as anything, but that doesn't mean she's invincible. She thinks more with her legs instead of her head. If she's in a deep fight, then she won't think as straight as she would out of a hot-blooded fight. She won't comprehend if I'm using a unique quirk if I'm talking to her. Back to present. Seems that plan worked like a charm. Shinso smirked while Toga placed the cuff on Miriko's leg. Toga, Shinso and Usugiyama have passed their finals. A speaker said this for the three to sigh in relief before Izuku falls onto the ground. Crap, you okay? Yeah, just kinda in pain. Izuku laughed with Toga bumping into Miriko to knock her out trance. What the? She looked down at her ankle to see the cuff on her to smirk. Guess I lose. The rabbit hero walks over to her son to plop him on her shoulder and drag both Shinso and Toga out of the area. Gotta hand it to you kids, ya pulled a quick one on me. Nice job. Thanks. The three answered before being brought to Recovery Girl by medical bots. Just so you know Izuku, I'm gonna kick your ass double time when we get home. Miriko says this is one of her final comments to make Izuku shiver in fear. Is your mom always this crazy? You don't know the half of it, Shinso. I heard that. Both boys shudder at Miriko's shout to avoid any more talk about her. Izuku paused. The day after the finals, the students had the day off to recharge their brains and calm themselves since it was somewhat strenuous on a lot of us. Some of us decided to make a day out of it with me and the girls agreeing to let today be the day Najire had me to herself. She personally liked this since, in her words, she needed to recharge her green bunny reserves or something. I didn't think anything was wrong with that, so I didn't fight it. Before we could do anything though, Mom made it a point my comment during the exams was touched on. 2. And this is for the crazy comment. She kicked me through a fence into the neighbor's yard where the dog started to bark at me. And this is why people think you're nuts sometimes. Arf arf arf. The small pug kept barking at me to no end before I turned to my stomach. 1. Sorry Sir Snozzle. How about a treat? I gave the small pug a dog biscuit for him to stop barking and walk away. So easy with that dog sometimes. 3. Learned your lesson yet? Yeah, that you're not the person I should trust to not throw me through a wall or have to worry about the neighbor's dog barking at me. Yeah, I struggled to stand with Mom heading over towards me. So you got plans with Najire today? Ow, yeah, I was hoping to do a picnic with her at a koi pond. Quote. Lame. Najire didn't seem to find it lame. I even got a nice lunch and everything for it. Mom rolled her eyes before walking over to her water. And this is why Bakugo has more skill than you. I overheard him talk with his girls about possibly hitting a motel later today for a hardcore three-way. Yet you're fine hitting up a koi pond and lazing around instead of sealing a deal with a chick that's arguably the most attractive in the third years that every guy in the school secretly wants to bang. 3. I went completely red before overreacting. I'm not Kachino or the other pervs in UA. And I'm not the type of guy to just sleep around with women. Ha 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 ha. Look at your face. You're as red as a tomato. Mom kept laughing to make me somewhat ashamed of myself for falling into her trick. But for a girl, that's good. You're not just into banging them but also giving them reason to enjoy being around you. But you might want to keep an open mind for any desire for more. You might not want to go any farther, but maybe they would, and respecting the wishes of your other is also important. If they do want to go farther and haven't made significant advances towards that, then it's them respecting your wishes. 1. I thought hard about what Mom said to understand that this could be a case in the future. I do need to be careful of that. I didn't think that deep into it until now, but we are kinda at that age. My face went red thinking about that image of the girls for me to subconsciously use, half hot, half cold, to go into a freezing inferno. Ah ha 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 ha, you look like a freaking guy that can't tell if he's got hyperthermia or hypothermia. Mom kept laughing for a minute before stopping and walking up to me. Look Izuku, just keep that in mind and avoid making mistakes. If you think too hard on these things, the girls might get the wrong idea about you. Just keep an open mind and maybe be ready in case you do end up doing something like this. I'm not gonna say it's just your responsibility or any of the girls alone if something happens, since it's both your responsibilities, or tell you that you shouldn't do it. I just want you all to be responsible and not make a decision that'll ruin your lives entirely. Oh okay, thanks. Mom smacked my back before giving me a large smile. Alright, go shower ladykiller. You smell like a burning garbage fire. And whose fault is that? Right, thanks for the talk. Anytime. I ran inside to start showering as fast as I could before packing the basket for my picnic with Najire. I did a quick go-over of what I needed and had before Mom's talk to me came back to my head. Would I need one today? I walked back to my room to look into my drawer under my socks to find the box Mom gave me a while back. Maybe I should keep one in case something happens. I went somewhat red to try and keep the thought I had out while placing one of the packages inside my wallet. 5. 1 hour later at the koi ponds. I began heading towards the entrance to see Najire sitting in a blue dress being hit on by a couple of guys. I could see she was ignoring them by playing on her phone, with one of them going to put a hand on her chin. Come on baby, why don't you say fuck it to whoever you're waiting for and have a little fun with us? Najire calmly pulled the guy's hand off her chin. He grabbed her hand back with a little annoyance. That wasn't nice. Sorry, but I don't pick up random jerks that don't realize they're not interesting me. I stifled a laugh hearing this for the second guy to look like he was about to do something. Get off the fucking phone bitch. The guy slapped Najire's phone out of her hands to grab her other arm. Look bitch, you're gonna come with us willingly or well. The second guy stopped when Najire kicked him between the legs with an unhappy look on her face. I'm not some easy lay or defenseless woman. She turned her other arm that was being held by the first guy to grab his wrist and twist it to have the jerk on his knees begging her to let him go. If you want to find some cheap girl to pick up, look for a girl that sleeps around. I'm a class act. She picked her phone up, walked over to me looking very angry before grabbing my arm and walking into the park. You okay? That looked kinda aggressive of you to do. I'm fine. Those jerks just didn't get the message that I'm taken. I didn't push the conversation longer since it looked like Najire didn't want to talk about it more. We made a spot for us near a bunch of koi fish that were just minding their own business, with the calmness of them helping calm Najire down a bit. I laid a blanket out for us to sit on and poured a bit of tea to drink. Thank you. The fact her facial features looked relaxed and happy again made me feel a little relieved before taking out a few pieces of stale bread. I figured feeding these guys would be something you'd like to do, so I made sure I had something for it. Oh, please. Najire seemed excited about this to grab a few pieces of the crumbled up bread and tossed it in to watch the koi go after it. This is kinda fun to watch. You're right. I pulled out sandwiches for the both of us before handing Najire's to her and taking a bite out of mine. Sorry I made you wait. I wasn't waiting long. She took a bite of her sandwich before continuing with the conversation. So I heard you went against your mom for a final. How did it go? I got my butt kicked but still passed, with mom whooping it more a few hours ago. Ouch. She started giggling at the image of both butt whoopings and how they probably played out. Yeah, did not make the fact I pulled a nail out of my butt any more pleasant, or that Sir Snozzle next door started barking at me. Najire began to laugh uncontrollably at this, with her smile helping liven things up a little more. So how did your final exam go? I got a B average. Better than normal since I normally get C+ for grades. Really kicked butt in the physical portion. 4. That's awesome. Good job. I was really happy Najire was able to get rather well in her final exam, but I did notice she looked rather tired. You must have put a lot into this. Yeah, thanks to you. She helped me stay focused after I told her that I wanted to do really good for me to brag about something on our date. Snort, so you wanted to brag about getting higher marks today. I held in a laugh a bit with Najire earnestly nodding. Why, was that bad? I pat her head while shaking mine. No. It's alright. It's just kinda funny is all. You're normally not the one to boast about stuff like this and here you are doing that. Granted, going up a letter grade is still really good. Najire laughed before placing her head on my shoulder. I'm still really tired though. I didn't sleep a lot during this. Then go ahead and take a nap. I look over to see Najire already out cold to silently laugh a little. Always one to do what she wants to do. She's always such a easy-going girl. I moved her head to my lap to make it easier on her sleeping before taking a sip of my tea again to calmly sit and watch the koi fish. I'd occasionally toss them a few pieces of bread with a bit of satisfaction watching both Najire sleep and the fish enjoy their meal. Alright kid, playtime's over. The two jerks that were harassing Najire before came back with a knife and a lead pipe in hands. Just hand us the girl, and maybe we can give ya a little show of how we have our fun. 2. If any of you even touch Najire while she's sleeping, I'm going to turn your insides into your outsides. I calmly say this while sipping my tea for them to laugh. You honestly think a little twerp like you can do anything? The guy with the lead pipe leaned into my ear and whispered to me. I bet she hasn't even had a man in her yet or is just using you for a free ride while having some guys drop a load in her. I couldn't take any more to punch the guy in the face to send him back a bit. I don't care if you make fun of me, but don't you dare insult anyone that I care about in front of me. I was ready to kill these two with the guy who felt my punch first having a broken nose already. I pulled a jacket I was wearing off and placed Najire's head on it before standing up to deal with the jerks. You bastard. The guy with the knife tried to attack me with mom's training kicking in for guys with weapons. Watch closely to the hips when they pivot and move away from the swing of the arm while waiting for an opening. The guy continually tried to cut me before making an opening for me to take him down. When you see the opening, twist the wrist to drop the knife, kick it away, then stomp the back of the knee to bring them off balance. When that happens, slam their head to the ground to knock them out. I did exactly what she asked for the guy's head to hit the dirt. Fortunately it was soft ground and not pavement to avoid serious injuries, but the guy was out cold because of this. Gah, you fucking. I threw the unconscious guy to his friend to make him catch the unconscious idiot before cracking my knuckles. You wanna keep going? I can deal with schoolyard bullies like you easily, but I doubt the same can be said for you guys with me. I let out a killer aura similar to Aunt Ryu's when she's ticked off for the guy to turn tail and run with his friend. That'll learn ya. Damn freak show. I hope ya get slashed in the other eye too. 3. I heard this last comment and held my eye with a little sadness. Why did you have to make fun of my eye? I started to cry a little to try and grab a cookie from the set I packed to try and feel a little better. I continued to watch Najire sleep soundly to have some peace with how she rested without a care. At least you're okay. I spent the next few minutes just watching Najire and noticing she had on a dress that showed off her assets. Why did mom have to say crap about going farther in a relationship? Now I'm thinking of things that make me look like a pervert. I hold my head in shame before getting a small idea. I'm not that bold, but maybe a small kiss for now while she's sleeping could help me calm down a little. I put my head near Najire's face and move my lips to touch hers before pulling back and feeling a little satisfied. Snort, that's your best attempt to calm you down. I glanced down to see Najire awake and holding in the urge to laugh. How long were you awake? Since the two jerks started shouting. Nice head slam by the way. Thanks. Damn it. Now she probably thinks I'm a pervert. You know, I wouldn't mind trying to play grown-up games like that. If you wanna try it, I'm okay with it. My face lit up when I heard this to violently shake. It's not that I wouldn't want to. It's just that I wanna cherish you all. I tried to make an excuse before my wallet fell out and showed the condom inside. Quote dot 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 dot. So did this mean you thought about it? She held the small wrapper in her hand to make me wanna crawl deeper in a pit. I mean, maybe a little. I finally accepted this before hearing Najire laugh and pat my back. It's okay, Izuku. We all sometimes have problems accepting this as something we'd want from time to time. This doesn't make you pervy, this just means you're a normal teenager growing into adulthood. I'm just scared I make a mistake and ruin everything first because I did something wrong. I'll tell you something, Izuku. The reason we're all fine with what we have right now is because you treat us right. Me and the girls though would rather have you to ourselves, accepted that you're someone that tries with us. If we'd dump you for something so simple as a physical attraction, we'd never be with you in the first place. I held my head up a little hearing this. Really? Yeah, we might do this in the future, but we don't have to do this now. I felt a weight fall off me the second this was said to lay back and look at the sky. Najire reared her head on my chest while hugging me and smiling. You have no idea how much weight that pulls off me. I can imagine, but you'll have a big night when we do end up having our firsts. Be ready with plenty of stamina. Single quote dot 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 dot. And just like that, my libido and unease skyrocket again. Izuku paused. The days leading up to the training camp came and went fairly quickly. Most of the time, I used it to go on dates with the girls while also spending a bit of time training with Mom. Most of it consisted of her kicking my butt, but she said I was improving a bit. Today, we finally began heading towards the training camp Mr. Aizawa told us about. Fortunately, we were boarding side by side with Class B for me to see the girls and greet them before we headed out. This was for the most part fine until Monoma began making himself look like a fool like he normally does. Ha 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 ha, I heard some of Class A failed their exam. Aren't they supposed to be much better than Class B? The shame you must be feel. Itsuka stopped him by knocking him out. Hopefully he's unconscious most of the ride down. Man, I hate that guy. Too. Sorry Izuku, he just keeps trying to go after you all and it's starting to get on everyone's nerves. It's not your fault. To be honest, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten the hint that you're not letting him do this. You truly think you're so much better than me. Monoma started to stare at me with his cocky smile. Just because you have several women willing to lift their skirts to become your whore, he was stopped mid-sentence by a kick to the jaw by Yui. 3. Oops. My foot slipped. My bad. None of us had any sympathy towards Monoma before I remembered I grabbed some snacks for everyone. Oh yeah, I almost forgot I grabbed you all something to eat on the trip. I pulled out a bag and gave the girls what I got for them. Let's see. Mushroom-flavored chips for Kino, strawberry pocky for Yui, bread from the baker for Abara, some dried apple chips for Pony and some coffee-flavored chocolates for Itsuka. Woohoo, mushroom chips. Can always count on you Izuku, shroom. Thank you for thinking of us. I appreciate the offer. Yay, dried apples. And they're red delicious. 3. I still don't know what Pony's saying, but she seems happy. I also got a couple bags of chips and popcorn for your class as something for them to munch on. I'm not sure what everyone likes, so I just went with the basic flavors. Itsuka grabbed the bag from me and smiled. Thanks, I'll make sure they all know you did this. We began heading on our buses before noticing Kacchan, Tokage and Toga making out to the side away from people. 5. Seems Kacchan is happy with his life. They pulled away with Tokage smirking. See ya at the training camp bomber. She smacked his butt with Kacchan going to spank hers. Oh, I take it you like what you see. Just stop slapping mine lizard girl. Can you at least call Mr. by my actual name? Both began arguing before Toga started laughing at them. You both are hilarious. Ha 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 ha. She fell to the ground holding her sides before finally coming up after a solid minute. I'm gonna head onto the bus. She mimicked Tokage in spanking him before skipping away. See ya there Blasty. She stuck her tongue out in a playful way for Tokage to laugh before leaving. I take it Toga's joining us. Kacchan looked over to me somewhat irritated. How much of that did you see? Enough to know you've got two pretty girlfriends that really like you. He rolled his eyes before answering. Her and the mind control guy were given authorization to join us. From what I'm told, they're joining classes A and B with someone from Class B getting dropped. Oh, I hope it's Monoma. I don't wanna be mean, but he does nothing but try to belittle us at every turn. I don't give a shit if I'm mean. Drop the fucking blonde asshat. For once, I somewhat agreed with how Kachin phrased something. Still though wish lizard girl would stop smacking my ass. Take satisfaction with knowing you have two pretty girls that like you. Not everyone has someone that likes them. Says the man that has a harem of like a dozen chicks wanting his dick. How many did you sleep with? I felt a little irritated by this statement. I have no plans to say something like that. What me and the girls do is between us. Okay, you don't have to yell, man. Kachin started to laugh a bit before slapping my back. Loosen your jockstrap, man. You might get a bit more lucky if ya do. He walked towards the bus with me rolling my eyes at him. 5. I swear, sometimes I think he does this to make me feel embarrassed for saying what I do. I walked onto the bus with the girls saving a spot for me between them. Ochako sat inside, Sue sat towards the aisle, Momo, Kyoka and Mina sat behind us with Kachin, Toga and Iida taking the seats in the front. Did anyone see Yui with that kick? I shouldn't condone violence, but that felt oddly satisfying to watch. Momo replied to Mina while I opened a bag for everyone to grab some snacks out of. 3. Hey Izuku, what you got there? I grabbed some snacks for everyone, Ochako. I thought it was going to be a long trip and something to munch on could help get our mind off of it. Sweet, Mina shouted while I looked through the bag to give the girls what I had for them. Let's see. For Ochako, I got yakimochi. Ooh, grilled mochi. Sue, I got lime jello. Thank you. For Mina, I've got dried okra. Nice. Kyoka, I have a bag of rice crackers. Awesome. And for Momo, I've got 2 fat cakes, a fat gum sponsored cake that holds a lot of calories. 3. Thank you Izuku. I also got a bag of jalapeno chips for Kachin and a thing of orange juice for Iida. I passed them up the stuff I got for them to make both of my classmates smile. 1. Thank you Usugiyama. Appreciate it. I also got a couple things for everyone else to share as well. I passed the chips and popcorn to everyone with Mr. Aizawa hopping on the bus not long after. 1. Seems you're all settled in now. He noticed the chips and popcorn being passed around to stare at Zero. Pass me the chips when you're done. This was the only thing he said as we began heading off. 7. The trip was relatively noisy for the first hour. But by the time we got to the hour-and-a-half mark, most of us relaxed and began to either pay attention to our phones or other things we had, or just sleep off the time. 3 hours later, all right, everyone off the bus. I woke up to Mr. Aizawa asking us to get off and noticing us basically in the middle of nowhere. Hopping off, things just became weirder when I found out we were right near a cliff with nothing around from what it looked like for miles. This is weird. What's weird? Shinso came over to speak, getting my opinion. We're in the middle of nowhere with no reason to stop. Bathroom break maybe. I killed that thought when I saw no bathrooms or porta-johns anywhere. I kept thinking with the fact Mr. Aizawa doesn't normally do things without reason behind them. There's got to be some kind of reason towards this, but what? Hey eraser. The sound of a woman's voice was heard to have me focus on a car that was here to begin smiling. Your feline fantasies are here. Say meow. Perfectly cute and cat-like girls. You can call us, the wild pussycats. Ooh, it's the pussycats. I began immediately fanboying seeing 2 of some of the most high-ranking hero groups out there. 2. You seem excited. Are these people special pros or something? I immediately turned to Shinso to explain. The Pussycats are a 4-person rescue team that specialize in mountain rescue. Each person has a quirk that allows them to do this and were founded when we were kids. This year marks their 12th year of. I'm pretty sure your math is wrong. Pixie Bob immediately grabbed my face with her claws out. I'm 18 at heart. 6. Offk. Chan I habe my face be whack. She let me go with her glare at me being immediately felt. I started to cover my eye in fear and felt a chilling aura beside me. From what I could tell, all 5 of the girls were in attack position ready to fight after seeing Pixie Bob grab my head. We began hearing about what was happening with Mr. Aizawa explaining that the Pussycats will be helping us this time with hero training. Mandalay began pointing out a spot at the foot of a mountain to gain our attention. Our base is located at the foot of the mountain over there. It's 9 in the morning right now, so you all should be able to get there by noon. Those that can't get there by then don't get lunch. Everyone began to panic and head towards the bus. Sorry, but the training camp starts now. Izawa states as Pixie Bob gets in front of everyone to activate her quirk and send us all off a cliff. We're gonna die. I began panicking before hearing Mandalay shout. This is privately owned grounds, so you can use your quirks. All I needed to hear. I began using Dragon to transform into my dragon form and use Creation to make something soft for everyone to land on. When we were all safely on the ground, I transformed back and made sure everyone was safe. Is anyone hurt? Everyone groaned a bit from the sudden shock of the act, but for the most part got up looking unharmed. So what exactly happened? My guess Kaminari, Pixie Bob used her Earth Flow quirk. It's really good in cases where you need to pull Earth off of a landslide or if someone is trapped underground. It's one of the reasons her quirk is the perfect match for mountain rescue. It's like you're one with Earth itself. Everyone looked at me as I went on my monologue about what her quirk is and how amazing I think it is. That's from what I've seen and think about her quirk. We began hearing something coming towards us to look over and see a giant monster that looked like living Earth head towards us. That doesn't look promising. Third person Pav. As the class began to fight the Earth monster, Pixie Bob listened in on the group with some radio communications she had inside her creations. The kid knows his stuff. He's also pretty fast in a situation. That's Usugiyama for you. He gets that quick thinking from living with Miriko. I didn't know the rabbit hero had a son. I didn't even know she had someone like that in her life. Mandalay spoke up confused. She doesn't. Usugiyama's adopted. So what's his quirk then? Mandalay and Izawa began having a conversation while Pixie Bob watched Izuku activate Rabbit and Hardening to kick one of her Earth monsters a distance away. For the most part, his quirk allows him to use the quirks of those he's formed a mutual bond with to the best of their abilities. Due to this, he can mix and match quirks as well as give a foundation for what some of his classmates can do together. He's got talent and skill to back it up, but he lacks in the confidence department. The blonde crow began sending as many dirt monsters as she could to Izuku for him to expand his hands with Big Fist and blast away his enemies with Explosion. Doesn't look like he's lacking to me. He doesn't like hurting people as well as he's extremely sensitive about a scar on his eye because of being abandoned at a young age. Try to avoid talking about stuff like this. These were the last words of forewarning Izawa spoke before heading onto the bus to head towards the camp. 1. Looking back, Pixie Bob saw Izuku turn into a dragon again and head towards the camp with the class on his back. That kid really knows how to avoid going the hard road for the people around him. A boy with black hair and a red cap with horns in it watched Izuku leave with a bit of agitation. Kota, we're leaving. Mandalay spoke up for the boy to head back towards the car. 2.5 hours later, Izuku landed in the clearing near the camp to place everyone on the ground and turn back to normal. Looks like we got here with time to spare. Thanks for the help, man. Kirishima turned to Izuku, who was on his knees somewhat tired. No problem, Sai. Izuku fell back onto the ground tired from flying with his girlfriends from the class helping him up. Nicely done, everyone. You've exceeded our limit and made it here before lunch. Mandalay congratulated the class with Bakugo irritated by this. The only reason we made it this far was because of Izuku carrying us like dead weight. TCH** if you wanna congratulate someone, point it mainly to him. Meow, 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 meow. I saw and was beyond amazed by his act. Pixie Bob walked over to Izuku with a smile on her face. You did awesome, kitten. So much so that I call dibs on you. She began to try and kiss the green-haired boy before having the feeling of 5 angry glares on her to look up and see most of the Class A girls ready to attack the pro. 1. Sorry Pixie Bob, but I don't think the girls would like you doing that. Noticing the boy beside Mandalay, Izuku looked at both pros to ask about him. I'm sorry to ask, but who's the kid? Oh, this is my nephew, Kota. Because of some reasons, he's staying with us. Izuku walked over to the boy to give a proper greeting. Hello, I'm Izuku Usugiyama. It's nice to meet you. Izuku gave his hand to Kota with the small boy pulling his arm back and socking him in the groin, leveling the green-haired boy on the scene. 4. Usugiyama. Iida went towards Izuku to help him up before lecturing Kota. How dare you punch someone in the scrotum? Kota turned towards the group with a hateful glare in his eyes. Why should I care to get all chummy with some people that wanna be some kind of corny heroes? Seeing his eyes, Izuku remembered the look he had all too well. Kids that lived on the streets and some adults when he was alone as a child held a similar look. A face as if they hated the world for taking and leaving them with nothing. Izuku, you okay? Coming back to reality, Izuku noticed the girls making sure he wasn't too badly hurt. Yeah, he just surprised me there. Getting up, the pack leader quirk user smiled and brushed it off. That was a good hit, Kota. I should have kept my guard up. I hope we can become friends. This irritated the small child before walking back inside, trying to avoid dealing with the group any longer. Kota, I don't know what made you have that glare, but I'll try and help you get rid of it. Yui Pav. The first day of training officially started with Mr. Vlad King having us wake up fairly early. Since Kino was barely awake, I gave her my arm for support while we were walking and being explained what today was going to consist of. For the entirety of this week, we will be training your quirks. Just like your skin and muscles, the more you push them to their limits, the stronger they'll become. As such, we'll be having assignments put specifically for all of you. When we arrived at a clearing, Class A had already been placed into their training with only one word coming to my mind at first glance. Hell. Usugiyama. Change positions now. 2. Yes sir. I looked over to see Izuku walk over to where Todoroki was with him, jumping into a bath of water to freeze the water and the area around it before melting it again. Todoroki was doing something similar. Whoa. Izuku is super strong shroom. Kino looked up at this before Izuku was told to go towards another station to lift up a couple of rocks beside Ochako. Head towards a station that has your name on it. Class A had already started, so you have a lot of catching up to do. We both stopped staring to begin heading towards where we needed to and seeing a notebook saying what we need to do. So I need to increase the amount of things I can grow in a single moment as well as see about growing it larger. Seems simple enough. I began doing this to start making my max limit and then trying to grow another to have a bit of problems. Come on. I began pushing it to feel a bit of strain on my body from it. Usugiyama. Change positions. Yes sir. Izuku ran towards me to begin grabbing every piece of debris he could before getting to the max limit I could and pushing to get another one. How is it going for you? Could be better. I was able to finally get the 10th one done before trying to go for an 11th. So you're jumping from station to station? Yeah, basically, my quirk doesn't allow me to do better than everyone else unless they hold back. So as a way to make sure everyone isn't slacking and I'm pushing myself just as much to meet the standard of everyone else, I'm jumping from station to station in order to keep the gap between us as narrow as possible. Izuku was able to grow the 10th piece of debris and join me on the 11th. Usugiyama. Next station. Yes sir. Thanks for the talk. Hope your training goes well. He ran off to join Tetsu on his station and begin punching a wall in hopes to avoid the steal of the quirk he was using to weaken. I think half the reason he's having Izuku go to each station to work side by side with us is to motivate us. If it was just us, we'd complain a bit. But since Izuku's doing all of our stations, he's trying to make it so we're being motivated to do better. Kodai. Keep going. Vlad shouted at me for my focus to be back on my objective. I'm going to get stronger. I'll make it so we can be great heroes together. Later that evening, Izuku Pav. The day finally finished with us and my body could not feel more drained. Thanks to running from station to station, I had almost nothing left in me and feel like I was on the verge of collapsing. I wonder if Mom had to deal with running out of stamina like this when she was training at the start. Usugiyama. Do you need a hand up? Iida offered me a hand for me to take it. We'll be making curry, so please try to keep going just a little longer. Thanks Iida. I'm gonna try and keep going. I went over towards the areas we were going to start cooking to see Kacchan and Todoroki start lighting the fires. To be honest though, I think it would be better to say Kacchan was trying to start the fires since he kinda blew up the area he was trying to light. Maybe if I use a smaller explosion I can make it happen. I tested it on one area with a few dead leaves and branches. I used small sparks that you could honestly get from small firecrackers and noticed them start to work. Whoa, that's so cool. Mina looked over my shoulder to see me starting a fire with Kachan's quirk. So he doesn't have to use larger explosions to make fires. Shut up, raccoon eyes. Don't be rude, Kachan. You're just using too much power than you need. You're at full power when it should only be 10%. You don't need to kill the wood, it's already dead. Whatever. He looked away with me noticing Kota to the side. I wonder where his parents are. I saw Mandalay walk inside for me to get the idea to try and ask. Hey Mina, can you take over for a sec? I need to head inside. Nature calling. I went red hearing this for a smile to come on her face. Sorry Izuku, you're just so funny to tease sometimes. Mina started laughing before kissing my scar on my eye. I'll make something up for you. Do what you gotta do. Thanks. I ran inside to head directly towards the office and see Mandalay sitting at her desk. Excuse me. Oh, what can I do for you? The pro gave me a smile with what I wanted to ask being a little hard. Well, it's about Kota. Did he hit you again? And no, he didn't, but I did wanna ask about him. I walked in and shut the door before asking my question. It's a little personal, but why is Kota here? Doesn't he have parents? This seemed to be really hard on the pro for me to try and fix what I said. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No, it's okay. You see, Kota's parents were heroes. Unfortunately, she trailed off before continuing. During an villain attack, they died trying to protect civilians. As a hero, this is arguably the most noble way to go, but how do you explain that to a child whose only knowledge at the time is his parents or his world? I felt horrible asking this to begin covering my eye with my hair. I'm sorry I asked. Kota He looked very angry and in pain that I couldn't find words to explain why I wanted to help before feeling a pat on my head. Don't worry, it's not your fault. I think he just needs to warm up to people like you. Aizawa told us about you and I know this is not meant to be any ill will, so don't think I'm mad you asked this. I started thinking about this before asking another question. Where does Kota normally go to hide from everyone? There's this place up on a hill nearby that you can see the entire forest. He normally goes there. Thank you Mandalay. I bowed to her before going to the door. I stopped before opening it though to say one final bit. Being alone hurts. I'm not sure if I'm able to help, but I'll try to do what I can to help Kota understand he isn't alone. I opened the door to walk back out towards everyone to continue cooking. Few hours later, Kota, are you up here? After dinner, I decided to head out with a plate of food for Kota that we had leftovers since I wasn't sure if he ate yet. Kota, I was cut off by a rock hitting me dead center in the forehead to feel a bump start to form. What are you doing here? Leave. I held my forehead before smiling at the young kid. I really should be more careful around you. That was really good aim. Why are you still here? I didn't know if you ate yet, so I made you a plate of what we had left over. We're not the greatest cooks, but we all pitched in and tried our best. I gave a smile hoping to at least get him to open a little. I don't want anything from a bunch of phonies like you all. You're not fooling me with the tough guy act. Kota looked at me a little confused. Let me tell you a story about someone I knew that was about your age. For the past 4 years of his life, his childhood was pretty normal. He had 2 loving parents and lived in a house not too big and not too luxurious. It was a little cramped, but the family lived happily. When the boy was told what his quirk was, his family deemed him defective and threw him out. For 2 years, he scrounged on the streets for food, barely getting by. Eventually, a person he rubbed the wrong way cut his eye and left him with it bleeding. Not knowing how to clean or do anything for the cut, it got worse and he almost lost his ability to see out of it. But even after all this pain, the worst he had was having his parents think he was defective and throw him onto the streets like garbage. He held his head down hearing this for me to walk closer to him. I know it hurts. Losing family isn't something anyone wants, especially if they died the way Waterhose did. Wait, when did I have this kinda NACT for learning about heroes. I honestly thought their work was amazing and didn't deserve to go the way they did. But for you, it's 100 times worse since you probably feel like they abandoned you. But believe me when I say this, leaving you here without them was probably the last thing they wanted. One day though, you will find some more people to help give you the love and happiness you lost here. I came directly next to Kota to kneel down to eye level with him. I pulled my hair up to show my scar and finish my point. The pains we hold on the outside or inside hurt more now because they haven't closed yet, but they will one day go and leave the scars of their harm for us to remember and be more blessed with what we have. I placed the plate in my hands down before hugging Kota. Let go. He began punching me with his voice starting to crack. I said let go. I could feel the tears coming off his face as his punches slowed down with the sound of his crying making its way to the surface. He wrapped his arms around me and gripped the back of my shirt as he let everything out. It isn't fair. Why did they leave me? I know. This pain never fully heals, Kota. It hurts, but we learn to bear this pain as we grow up. Even if you think you're alone though, you're really not. Mandalay and her teammates, they wanna help you. She lost someone like you and it hurts seeing you in pain. Please let her help you so she doesn't feel bad helping herself. Kota kept sobbing into my shoulder for me to accept this and pat his head. I'm sorry, Kota. Nobody deserves to go through this. 10 minutes later, after Kota had everything he needed out of him, we sat on the rocks and looked at the evening sky while he ate. Hey, he got my attention for me to look over towards him. I'm sorry I punched you in the balls, and hit you with a rock, and called you a corny phony, and was mean to you. 1. It's okay. No harm done. He finished eating to place the plate beside him. Sorry if it was a little cold. And no, it was good. There was a silence before Kota took a deep breath. Thank you. For what? For helping me. I patted Kota's head and flashed him a smile. Everyone needs help from time to time. Though some need more than others, not every person who needs help needs a flashy cape to be someone's hero. Sometimes, it just takes someone wanting to give a hand to somebody that needs it. Kota smiled a bit before looking up at the stars. Your name's Usugiyama, right? Yep. Do you think my mom and dad are still watching over me? Yeah, they're probably sad they left you and want to make sure you grow up happy and healthy. I saw this get him down before getting an idea. Kota, when you feel sad and hurt, try to smile to make it feel a little less painful and look on the brighter side of things. What do you mean? It's easy to accept unhappiness, but it's hard to smile and look at something positive when you're sad or hurt. Sometimes, smiling helps you the most when you're in pain. 3. I'll keep that in mind. Kyoka Pav. After finding out Izuku had been gone for a while, me and the girls decided to try and look for him. Mandalay told us that he's probably near a cliff overlooking the forest to show up around the time he and Kota had a little crying moment. We heard a little of what he said to feel for the kid and smile knowing Izuku was able to get him to open up. I feel sorry for the kid. Yes, leaving a son is the biggest concern any parent can have. Yaomomo agreed with Mina starting some waterworks. I hope Izuku helped him. I wanna cry hearing what happened. Yui pulled an umbrella for her and Pony to avoid being sprayed by Mina's acid tears with Itsuka standing up. Let's go. It's probably better if they don't see us. We agreed to start heading back towards the camp to give the two the time they needed without an audience. Izuku Pav. The next day started as hectic as the first. The only real difference with this one though was we weren't physically restored from the day before to have fatigue hit us a little harder today. Usugiyama. Change positions. Yes sir. I ran towards the next station with Momo for her to see me a bit exhausted. This has to be hard on you. I've had worse. This is also for us to get stronger, so I can't complain about getting stronger. I started stuffing my face while making small Kokeshi dolls. These dolls, they're adorable. Yaoyorozu. Keep moving. Mr. Aizawa started shouting for Momo to panic and start stuffing her face and making her Russian nesting dolls. I've always put this off asking, but why does Momo make a Russian doll that's meant to symbolize fertility? 5. Usugiyama. Change stations. Yes sir. I ran to my next station which happened to be Pony's. I was a little happy with this since I've been practicing my English to try and hold a somewhat decent greeting with her. Hello. How are things? She stopped for a moment hearing me speak English with her eyes lighting up with happiness. You're speaking English. I'm so happy. She tackle-hugged me for Vlad King and Mr. Izawa to notice. Hey, get back to training you two. Yes sir. We immediately started using horn cannon. Our goal was to find a way to increase the amount produced, strengthen them and control more than two. It seemed simple in theory, but it was very close to controlling raging bulls from how it felt trying to get them under control. To be honest, I kinda didn't give Pony enough respect with her quirk until I tried to take control of the horns. These horns are mine, so why can't I use them as well? This seemed to trouble Pony with an idea popping into my head about how to control them a bit better. What are you seeing when you fire the horns and try to control them? I'm trying to see them as a cannon that goes, boom. Why? Maybe try thinking of it like a video game where you can control the direction of them. Try using your fingers as a straightforward way to control them. Pony tried to take my advice with the controlling of the horns for her being a bit easier and less of a hassle. Awesome, I can control my horns by my fingers like a controller. Once again, I don't know what she said completely. Usugiyama, change stations. Yes sir. I went towards the next station to find Toga drinking several different kinds of blood. Personally, I wasn't a fan of how to transform with her quirk, but it did have its uses to not look a gift horse in the mouth. Her goal was trying to use the quirks of people she transforms into to try and use their quirks. Since from studies on how the quirk worked by Recovery Girl she said it was possible, her goal today is to try and use that as a deciding factor. As such, Mr. Izawa asked me to help by having her drink the blood of people whose quirks I can use. Okay, let's try Yaomomo's next. She began drinking the blood to transform into Momo and pull her sleeve up. To use Momo's quirk, imagine the thing you're trying to make. Let's try something simple like a piece of maple wood. She imagined the wood with it looking like she was starting to do something with strange sparkles coming out of her arm. It stopped soon after with it not being understood why. 2. What am I doing wrong? Maybe it's not the right image with what you need. I tried to think before drinking Momo's blood as well to transform into her. Maybe if you see it up close and personal, you can get a better idea. I activated creation in Momo's body to show what it looked like on my forearm. I made maple wood just like she was trying to for it to come out in a small block on the table. What did it look like to you when it was coming out of my body? Well, to be honest, it looked like you were trying to go to the bathroom. I immediately felt the words pierce me with turning to see Momo kneel down overhearing the conversation. Did I say something wrong? 3. And no. Try having that image now then. Okay. She began using the quirk with a small piece of maple wood coming out of her arm. When it was placed on the table, Toga smiled and jumped for joy. I did it! I did it! I did it! I immediately covered my eyes seeing the transformation wear off and Toga's clothes falling off with her. Oi Streaker! Stop messing with Izuku and let him work! Kacchan shouted at us for Toga to start placing her pants and shirt back on. 2. I'm good. Not long after, she began staring at me for some reason. So that's what a man's thing looks like. 1. Man's thing. What's she talking? I looked down to see my clothes off as well with transform, no longer in effect with me. I knelt down trying to prevent my lower half from being seen as the girls I was dating stopped immediately to stare at me. Why does this quirk have this as a side effect? 2. Usugiyama. Put some pants on and go to the next station. 1. Why yes sir. Later that day, our training finally ended with my body not wanting to move any farther. I'm gonna die. Everything hurts on me. My eyes started shutting before I was splashed with water. Opening my eyes, I saw Kota with his hand positioned over my face. Did that wake you up? I smiled at him before sitting up. Thank you for the cool down Kota. It really helped. I didn't do that because I wanted to, dumbass. You were just in the middle of everything and nobody could do anything around you. He began getting really red for me to laugh a bit. 4. Still, thank you. His face didn't stop going red before walking away. Such a nice kid. Hey Izuku, you wanna help cut some meat for beef stew tonight? Kyoka shouted from across the area for me to get up. Right, sorry about slacking. I began cutting some meat before noticing the blade was a bit dull. Before I could do much, I'd have to do something about the sharpness. I wonder if I could. I cleaned the knife and activated Kirishima's hardening to start using my arm as a sharpening tool. Whoa, it's okay, Kyoka, I'm just sharpening the knife. I checked the knife for a second to see it needed a bit more time to get sharper to continue. Kirishima, your quirk works for sharpening knives really well. Yeah, he seemed really exhausted from his remedial courses to barely concentrate. I feel kinda bad for those that need to take extra lessons. I finished sharpening the knife to clean it up and start cutting. Well, they are kinda put through hell. But then again, this is cause they failed their practical exams. Still has to be rougher on them. Sometimes I think you're too nice, Izuku. Ya gotta show a backbone sometimes. If you don't, you'll have people that are willing to take advantage of you, step all over you. Am I really that bad? Kyoka shrugs a bit before answering. I mean, it's not bad to be kind-hearted. But you do need to understand where being kind isn't helping anyone and that you need to be strict on people. I see. I tried to think about how I can be stricter before having my nose flicked by Kyoka. Try not to think too hard on this. I know you're wanting to be a good person, but just know that you gotta keep it in moderation for people at times. Come on, we're falling behind and gotta get these done quick. If we don't, they may kick us from our treat tonight for working hard. Right, that evening, alright, we filled our bellies and cleaned the dishes. Now it's time for a totally awesome test of courage. Thanks to how hard we've been working, the Pussycats and Mr. Aizawa allowed us to have a test of courage as a reward for our hard work. I kinda don't do scary stuff well, so I'm thinking this might be a little harder on me than everyone else. Not so fast. The remedial students didn't show enough promise in today's training. It hurts me to say, but they'll need to stay out of this in order to take extra lessons tonight with me. Just like that, Mina's face went into shock realizing that she won't be able to do this. You gotta be kidding me. Her, Kirishima, Shiro, Sato and Kaminari were taken away in our teacher's capture gear as we all were explained what we were doing by the Pussycats. For the most part, it was kinda straightforward. Starting with Class A first, we were going in a circle around a trail in teams of 2 with the midway point having a marker that Ragdoll was stationed at. Once there, we'd follow the trail back to where we started and present our proof of conquering it. The only part that made this scary in my opinion was that the class that wasn't going was going to be the scarers for me to see this as a problem. Wait, how are the people of general studies going to fit into this? I began questioning for Pixie Bob to answer. 2. Since there's 2 that don't fit into this category, Insomnia Boy will be in Class A and Messy Buns will be in Class B for this game. This seemed to help me a bit with understanding before we began drawing lots for who would go with who. I was unfortunately paired with nobody for my unease to be worse. 2. I'm not even good with these things to begin with. This just makes it worse. Revelry in the dark. We all looked over to Tokiyami, who spoke up to have a bit of worry for him. Hey Tokiyami, I was wondering if you were okay in the dark right now. I mean, you're training in darkness with Dark Shadow to get stronger to control him in a more wild state, so isn't all this darkness kinda hard on you? If I were to try and control Dark Shadow in this state, it would most likely end with me losing control of him. However, I do not need to fear that as long as I keep him confined into me without any chance of escaping. I thought about this before making some things with creation. Since that would be bad for everyone if you lose control, take these and wear them around your body so you and Shoji don't get hurt. I gave him glow sticks in hopes to avoid the worst outcome if he does start losing control. I'm not sure if it'll help, but a little light might help you get better control so you don't have to worry. He seemed shocked at this before holding a glow stick in his hand. Thank you, my friend. I began blushing a bit before my body glowed purple with my shadow popping out. 3. Just be at ease and try to control the darkness inside you. Tokiyami gave me instructions for the feeling of my shadow going back into me being a little like something slithering into me. Brr, does it always feel like something's burying inside you when Dark Shadow goes back in? Enough to where I'm used to that feeling. Let's get moving, you two. Tiger shouted for us to fall in line. We started sending people out one by one with the eerie voices Class B was making, forcing my skin to crawl. About midway, something began to smell off for me to activate Rabbit to try and get a better smell and hearing of what's going on. Usugiyama, is everything alright? Shinso asked, for this omen in my mind to only get worse. I hear two people coming this way. One male, I think. Maybe they're female from the walking patterns. The other male with some form of a skin alteration to make him have scales. Everyone looked at me before I noticed smoke to go pale. FFFF fire. Things started to get more dangerous before Pixie Bob started floating. Hey, what's going on? She went barreling towards the direction the two I heard were to go, right into a giant magnet. She was knocked out with colliding with the large magnet and fell motionless on the ground. Well, I guess we should start getting rid of these feral cats. An effeminate man stated this with a guy that had a gecko mutation quirk beside them said while placing the magnet on Pixie Bob's head. You villains. Get that thing off my teammate this insta. Careful there. I give enough pressure, and I'll squash this little kitty's skull. I don't have a choice. I began using attract from my birth mother for the magnet to start moving. What the? I was able to pull it away from the villain. And use OFA to destroy it. You damned brat. Tiger came immediately to punch the villain into a tree and pull Pixie Bob away. With what's happening around us, I started to remember Kota never came back to the camp. Oh no, I used Rabbit and OFA to immediately start jumping towards the cliff he hung out on. There, I saw a man with a scar on his face about to kill him to grab and pull Kota out of the way before he could. Hee. Seems we've got another brat for me to play with. This'll be fun. 1. Getting a better look at his face, I was able to remember his face and something Mom told me. If you ever find a man with a bloodthirsty look on his face and a scar over his eye, run. You'll be outmatched no matter what you do. Sorry Mom, but I don't think I can avoid a fight with Muscular right now. His muscle fibers started to come out of his arms to coat them and smile. Come on kid, show me your blood. About a year ago, third-person POV. Mindless chaos villains. Izuku sat on the sofa in his and Miriko's home as his mom explained. Yeah, I wanted to explain these villains to you since the incident with Waterhose happened. These types of villains are irredeemable and cause chaos for the sake of the chaos it brings with no significant motive. As an example, most villains that cause lower-tier crimes like robbing a bank or stealing a purse. The chances are high that there's a reason why it led to that. However, if we're talking about a villain that wants nothing but mindless chaos, any logic in their reasoning is gone. Unlike if they're stealing money because they need money, they'll steal the money just to watch the madness that'll consume the area. So they're like real villains from TV shows. So how do I handle villains like this? Easy, you get backup. Facing someone like this alone is an idiotic thing to do. In all honesty though, you may not get the chance to get help. If that's the case, you need to use the one thing you're the best at. Your brain. Izuku stared calmly at Miriko before replying. This coming from the woman that thinks every problem in life can be solved by kicking. He laughed a bit before getting the back of the rabbit hero's heel to his head. Ah, point taken. I'm serious though Izuku, these types of villains aren't the easiest to handle. Especially one in particular. If you ever see a man with blonde short hair, a crazed smile with a scar down his face and a quirk that lets him control his muscles, I want you to run. You're not strong enough to take him on yet. Whatever evil you think you can handle, Muscular is beyond that. Understood. Back to present. I gotta admit kid, you're pretty gutsy if you think you can take me on. Dumb maybe, but still gutsy. Muscular charged at Izuku with his right arm pulled back. The muscle fibers covered his arm to grow even larger than it already was. Show me your blood. Power output 40%. Packed move. Najire wave. Izuku sent a spiraling wave of energy out at Muscular for him to be sent back a bit, but gained his footing and kept charging. Walking closer, the villain didn't see the enlarged hand to the side make a massive explosion. Go to hell. The green-haired boy blasted the bloodthirsty villain into the cliff deep into the solid rock. Huh, I guess cursing really does help. I should apologize to Kachin for thinking that his yelling was pointless. Izuku turned to Kota who looked a bit shaken up. Come on Kota, we gotta get out of here and bring you somewhere safe. 3. As the two walked away, the sound of someone coming out of the wall made Izuku freeze. Where do you think you're going, kid? Muscular came over and kicked the packed quirk user in the gut and into the rocks. He, you're quite the strange one, I'll give ya that. Before impact, Izuku was able to activate hardening to stop the impact from being too much. He survived the kick, but not without notable damage. Well, you definitely are who I'm looking for, so lucky you that I can't kill you. Looking for? What are you talking about? Seems you attracted some attention of some powerful people. The League wants you for some reason. I don't know why, but we were told to find and capture you by our boss's boss. Muscular cracked his knuckles before having more muscle fibers cover his hands. That being said, I don't think it'll be a problem if I rough you up a little more. He stormed Izuku again for him to jump out of the way thanks to Rabbit, or at least try. Where do you think you're going? Muscular grabbed one of his legs to slam Izuku into the cliff before grabbing his head and throwing the green-haired boy a distance. Not good, not good, not good. Izuku used zero gravity to lose all his weight and gain his footing before landing near the edge of the cliff. That was a close one. Show me your blood. Muscular came charging again to force Izuku to slide under his legs and use engine to kick the back of his knee. This did next to nothing as the massive villain grabbed Izuku's calf and crushed the bone with a sickening crunch being heard. Using manifest, Izuku turned his free leg into that of a bull's to kick Muscular in the face and get as far away as he could. Looking down, Izuku could tell his ankle was shattered with the skin looking a sickening purple. Now that was a kick. Muscular looked over with some blood dripping out of his mouth from where Izuku landed a hit. I gotta admit, boy, you're actually kinda fun to play with. Shame you got alive. Once again, Izuku was charged at for him to try and think of what his next course of action was. If I move now, he might hit Kota. But if I take it head on, I don't think I'll be able to take it. Damn it, sometimes I wish I was able to come up with stuff on the spot like Kacchan does. In that moment, Izuku had a lightbulb come on in his brain. I got it. Show me blood. Packed move. Stun grenade. Izuku activated explosion to make a large flash of light to temporarily blind Muscular before bombarding him with explosion after explosion. As this happened, Izuku also activated half hot, half cold to freeze Muscular in place by his feet. In a hope to end this, Izuku activated OFA at max, wave motion, both hardening, big fist, and explosion to create a combination. Packed move. Juggernaut cannon. He let loose on Muscular's face, hearing his skull crack before being sent flying off of the cliff and down towards the trees. In a fit of pain and adrenaline, Izuku looked up to the skies and screamed with all his might. As he yelled, Kota watched in amazement as his new friend stood tall even with his injuries. He felt some happiness as he remembered Izuku's words of happiness finding him again. Tears ran down his face as Izuku stood against the man that killed his mom and dad. He beat him. Usugiyama did it. After the screams stopped, Kota saw Izuku fall to the ground from pain. Usugiyama. Kota ran over to Izuku to see him try and make something to help his ankle with creation. I gotta get moving. NGH. My friends are in danger. After some immediate first aid, Izuku began walking around with a crutch, moving as fast as he could with Kota following beside. Muscular didn't hurt you, right? No. But your leg, it's fine. I've got another. 7. One that I'll enjoy ripping off. Muscular jumped up from the ground below, flecks of charred flesh burned and cauterized, revealing part of his skull around his eye socket. The two narrowly miss being stomped on. I gotta say, kid, that punch hurt like hell. Almost as much as that stupid pro hero group that made that fucking scar that made me lose my eye all those years ago. Shut up and stay down, you fucking monster. Izuku lunged mid-monologue at Muscular, grabbing by the face and setting off the largest explosion he could manage with his hand flush to the villain's face. I don't care who you think you are, those two pros were people that you killed. They had a life, they had friends, they had family. What gave you the right to take them from the people that loved them? Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Izuku felt his hands get grabbed with his wrists starting to crack under the pressure. You think I care? The smoke cleared for muscle fibers to be seen around the villain's head bulging out. I killed them because I felt like it. I killed the people I did because I wanted to use my quirk to its fullest. If people got hurt because of it, so what? It's their fault for being too weak. While this occurred, Muscular's skull started to reshape for some reason with the missing flesh going back to normal. 1. How do you have? Izuku was kneed in the gut and kicked away. You wanna know why I have a second quirk? That guy that wants you, he gave me this quirk thinking it would be easier to bring you in with it. Good thing too. That attack might have killed me. Izuku tried to get back up before having his shoulder stepped on by the villain. I'll give you this much, kid, you really were a pain in my ass tonight. So as a reward, why don't you just lay down like a good boy and wait till I kill the kid? You do that and we can make this all go a lot easier. Personally though, I'd rather keep beating on you. Trying to get up, Izuku tried to pull the foot off his shoulder before getting a kick to the face and nearly knocking him out. Nighty-night, kid. Izuku's vision began to blur as the image of Kota backing away in fear penetrated his line of sight. Come on, Izuku, move. The sound of Muscular laughing pierced his brain with his hands shaking from the fact he could barely stand. Move, damn it. As his mind could barely function, Izuku noticed a strange spark happen with OFA activating. A strange black aura came out of his wrist to attack Muscular. Leave him alone. The black tendrils wrapped around and kept Muscular in place with the villain looking back at Izuku. 1. Ahahahaha. Now this is fun, kid. What are you gonna do now? Izuku jumped up into the sky with wave motion, before activating both Dragon and Rabbit, along with OFA, both Hardening, Creation, to make a massive metal brace, and Explosion, to help wave motion, with downward momentum. Ultimate Pact Move. Luna, 100%. SMAAAAAASSSSSHHHHHHH. Izuku came barreling down at speeds that turned him into a blur with Muscular trying to block it with his fists. Now this is a fight, kid. Two people ready to kill each other. Nothing gets the blood pumping like this. Just shut up and stay down this time. Muscular kept laughing, confident he'd win as Izuku continued to barrel down with the ground beneath him breaking. He's putting everything into this attack. All I gotta do is stop this and he's done for. Come on, kid. Give me everything you've got left in the tank. Suddenly, Muscular's muscle fibers begin to react differently on him, uncontrollably spasming and unable to react properly to what his brain is trying to control. What the? You didn't lose to me today, Muscular. Izuku's body seemed to be producing electricity, with it being apparent he was activating electrification. You lost to my friends and their power. Now fall and never come back up. The force of Izuku's attack finally came through and hit the villain over the head. A massive shockwave happened for Kota to almost be blown back by the wind, given as well as the wind pressure being sent through the forest, blowing out fires set as well as the strange smoke that covered the area. The dust covered the two before a single figure stood tall. Izuku stood on two broken legs with a broken arm raised in the air, shaking in pain. Kota ran as fast as he could to see the young teenager stand barely conscious with a smile on his face, with Muscular so embedded in the stone that there was no way he was getting up after he regained consciousness. Kota, get the shares. Izuku fell back in pain with Kota shaking, seeing Izuku in the state he was in and nodding. 1. Usugiyama. Scared he might have died, Kota held his ear to Izuku's heart to hear it still beating as his chest expanded sharply to indicate he was breathing. I'm gonna get help. Just stay alive. Kota ran as fast as he could towards the camp, with Izuku finding himself now alone. Or at least, he thought he was. I must admit, Izuku Usugiyama, that was quite a show you displayed. I'm impressed. A strange voice out of what sounded like a visor came from a black portal that had opened up. It seems Muscular has done his part. Now, I think it's time I take you with me. Even in a weakened state, Izuku could tell from the presence the unknown man was giving off to tell who it was exactly. All for one. Izuku passed out, unable to do anything, with the villain being the last thing he'd see before being trapped in darkness. Rest easy now, boy, for I have big plans with you when the time comes. Do not worry about your friend either. No harm will come to him. The metallic-sounding voice was addressing Kota, who was unable to see what was happening as all for one vanished from whence he came, now holding Izuku's unconscious body in his arms. 10 minutes ago, third-person POV. As Izuku's battle with Muscular began, several other members of Class A and B began to fight the villains as well. Near where a large body of smoke was, Itsuka and Tetsu of Class B had begun heading through with gas masks made thankfully by Momo, who noticed and made it an initiative to make enough for everyone. Good thing we ran into Yaoyorozu during all this. Itsuka's focus was back near the camp where her classmates were being taken. Kodai and Honanuki are going to be okay. You know they're not gonna go down that easily. You're right, but I just have a bad inkling in the back of my mind that this isn't the worst of it all. They continued moving with Mandalay's voice coming into their minds. Everyone, that Mandalay, shish, villains have infiltrated the camp and are looking for someone. We do not know exactly why, but they are looking for Izuku Midoriya. It's at this time that I officially authorize all of you to use your quirks. Use them to push back the villains and return to camp immediately. Itsuka froze when she heard Izuku was being targeted. What do they want with him? Is it his quirk? Hey, Kendo. Tetsu pulled the big fist quirk user out of her train of thought for her to focus back on the situation at hand. We gotta start heading back. She agreed before realizing something about the gas around them. Tetsu, wait a sec. Come on, we gotta start heading back. Just wait a second. Look at the gas right now. I know, it's bad news. Let's get out of it. That's not what I'm saying. Where we were before and where we are now show different thicknesses of the gas. Mandalay also didn't mention the gas where she was, so that means it's not where she is. Also, it seems to be swirling around almost as if it's like a typhoon instead of staying where it is. If we're looking at this, the person responsible for it is most likely going to be in the center of the gas as it's being released. Immediately, Tetsu had sparkles in his eyes. Kendo, you're a freaking genius. The metal hardening quirk user immediately ran towards the thicker end of the gas at full speed. If we take this guy out, we can take down one of the villains. Wait, but we still have the problem with the gas masks. Damn it, stubborn dunce. Itsuka ran through the gas to catch up to her classmate, somewhat happy he was willing to take the initiative. In her mind though, she had the strangest feeling that she needed to find Izuku. Let's handle the immediate first and then go from there. With Tokiyami and Shoji, as the incidents around the camp began happening, Tokiyami and Shoji were facing their own immediate threats. RRRAAAAAAHHHHH. Dark Shadow, please calm down. Thanks to an incident with a villain attacking them, Tokiyami had lost what control he had of Dark Shadow at the time after Shoji's dupliarm was severed. The said quirk user was trying to avoid Dark Shadow as this happened while also trying to think of a way to help his friend. Come on Shoji, this is your fault, everything is happening. You need to think of something. Trying to remember who was in front of them in the test of courage, Shoji remembered both Todoroki and Bakugo were in front of them. If only I can get to them. But how am I going to get Dark Shadow to stop moving around for a small bit of time? He tried thinking of an idea before seeing the glowsticks around Tokiyami's wrists and neck from Izuku. Since that would be bad for everyone if you lose control, take these and wear them around your body so you and Shoji don't get hurt. What would Usagiyama do in this situation? As he thought this, Tokiyami noticed the glowsticks as well on his body to remember Izuku's concern. I'm not sure if it'll help, but a little light might help you get better control so you don't have to worry. Usagiyama. Tokiyami began to get enraged with himself as he struggled with just this. These villains are after you, my friend. Even though this is terrible, you are in a far worse situation. How can I call myself a hero if I cannot save myself? His fist clenched as his head started to move forward slightly. Dark Shadow. Enough now. You will obey me. Now's my chance. Shoji came out of the bushes he was hiding in and began making a beeline towards Todoroki and Bakugo. Hey, over here. Dark Shadow turned to see Shoji running. Tokiyami, please trust me and hold on a little longer. I promise I'll get you out. Shish Shoji, what are you doing? Get out of here. Ignoring his classmates' words of advice, Shoji kept running while using his dupliarms to make Dark Shadow attack where he heard sound. Sorry, but I can't do that to a friend. With Bakugo and Todoroki. Die you fucking asshole. The two began attacking a villain with his teeth coming out and stretching to cut like razor blades. Thanks to them being in a forest as well as both having to protect an unconscious Toga and Subaraba behind them, they couldn't fight using Bakugo's explosions or Todoroki's fire since there would be a good chance they'd start a forest fire from it. What the fuck do you monsters want with Deku? What did he ever do to you? Boy, I must find the boy. The villain didn't answer the question before a blade tooth came at him and nearly cut through a wall of ice. This guy isn't going to answer us. We need to do something in order to stop him though. Don't you think I know that? Icy hot. A sharp tooth sliced through the ice for Bakugo to destroy it. I gotta find a way to help Deku, but I can't do that with this fucking asshole in the way. 1. The two tried to find a way to attack with Todoroki's ice as the villain dodged and attacked again for Bakugo to cover his classmate. We'll never get anywhere if we have to deal with this guy. But we can't take him down without bringing him closer to the ground. As they spoke, Shoji came from the woods into the clearing. Get back, he shouted as a giant dark shadow came behind and began attacking anything that it could. This happened to be the villain at the time as he was slammed to the ground. As this occurred, Todoroki was about ready to use his fire half to calm Tokiyami, but was stopped by Bakugo. Wait a sec. The three watched as Dark Shadow overwhelmed the villain with the ash blonde smirking. We can easily stop the bird guy, but if he can take down this asshole, that's one less problem for us. With Itsuka and Tetsu, the two Class B students began to get to an area of the gas that was thick enough that they could barely see an inch past themselves. This has gotta be the center. Now where is that villain? Kendo, look out. Tetsu shouted for Itsuka to turn back and see a bullet nearly hit her if her classmate didn't harden his body and take the bullet. Unfortunately, the bullet hit the right spot to break the strap holding Tetsu's gas mask on. Tetsu, what kind of idiots go headfirst into a villain's domain without some sort of plan? Did it ever occur to you that I have the ability to maneuver around in the gas I make? The two of you should be ashamed of being students of UA. A boy that seemed to be younger than the two high schoolers wearing a gas mask and holding a gun spoke. In response, Tetsu came charging at the villain for him to evade quickly and shoot him again with it actually harming the metal quirk user this round. Frontal assaults. Are you serious? Can't you think of something better than da? He stopped midway to avoid an attack by Itsuka who tried to slam him with her enlarged fist. Smarter. But the two of you aren't even using your brains as much. All you're thinking is punch and go. In an area where I can see far better than you, that's not going to work. Tetsu attacked again with the villain being slower on the reaction time with it subtle but notable. He didn't dodge like before. Does that mean he can't tell as easily in the gas that's thinner? Come to think of it, he could have gotten closer to the campsite if he was able to notice things in thinner parts. Itsuka began thinking of an idea before a massive gust of wind came to push most of the gas away. What the mmmmppphhhhh? Tetsu came charging while still holding his breath for the villain to panic and evade, but in doing so went right into Itsuka, sweeping his feet and slamming his face on the ground to shatter his moss and let some of the gas in. The young villain was knocked out quickly with the gas thinning enough where Tetsu could breathe freely again. Gasp pant thanks for the backup. I thought my lungs were gonna explode. The metal hardening quirk user fell to the ground with Itsuka looking up towards where the wind came from to see the mountain cracked. I didn't do anything. Whoever did it pant, I owe them big. With Bakugo and Todoroki, thanks to Dark Shadow's overwhelming power, they were able to defeat the villain they were handling, but now they faced the monster again with Tokiyami too far above for him to come back down safely. Alright. Let's get the bird under control. A massive amount of wind came to push Dark Shadow down and get Tokiyami down closer to the ground for both Bakugo and Todoroki to head over and use their quirks to lower the Shadow quirk's power. Tokiyami fell on the ground, slowly getting up with him clearly exhausted from the rampage and holding back Dark Shadow as best he could. I owe you two my thanks. Something tells me you gotta thank Deku for not falling and getting hurt too. I'm pretty sure he made that attack happen. Looking at all six in the area, Bakugo tried to think of the best thing he should do. Let's get back. These two are sitting ducks if we can't take them somewhere safe. As they started leaving, a small earpiece was found on the ground by Todoroki. Hey, check this out. A strange buzzing was heard on the item before the half-and-half quirk user held it to his ear to try and hear what it's saying. When he found out what it was, his face went pale. What's wrong? I see hot. Quote. They kidnapped Usugiyama. With Ochako and Sue, the two had tried to make their way back to the camp, but were stuck in an area with several blue flames around them. Trying to find a safe route, they were met with two villains. One with several burns and staples on his body and another in a black and gray jumpsuit with a mask that only had eye holes. Great, how are we gonna get past this guy without a fight? Ochako silently spoke with what felt like a large wind pressure being felt by everyone. That was something. The burned villain spoke while seeing his flames be snuffed out. It appears it was powerful enough to put out your flames. No, it didn't. The jumpsuit villain spoke almost as if he had some kind of mental disorder. Before going any farther, the burned villain tapped his ear to smile. Our job is done, twice. The kid's ours. Lead the way then, Dabi. I'm leading the way. The two left for both Ochako and Sue to feel some calmness knowing they don't have to fight. However, that quickly changed when they remembered what the two said. Hey Ochako. The brunette looked at her friend who was visibly scared. Who do you think got captured right now? Knowing Izuku was a thorn in the League's side since day one and that he was without a doubt going to be a problem for them, Ochako felt a lump in her throat not wanting to answer. Let's just head to camp and we'll find out from there. Please don't let it be Izuku. Anyone but him. With Aizawa. After being told of the situation by Kota, Aizawa came with Kirishima and Sato holding a stretcher for Izuku to see the complete wreckage of the cliffside. Usugiyama did all this. Bro has full respect from me. Sato and Kirishima spoke with Aizawa walking towards the area to find Izuku and help him back knowing he'll never be able to walk from how it sounded. When he came to the area Kota said was where he fell, the group found Muscular unconscious and lodged in the solid ground, but no Izuku. Where'd he go? Kota tried to find his friend to only find that he suddenly vanished. Looking at a large area of packed down dirt that was on the ground of the mountain, the teacher found tracks that weren't of any of the students or anyone they knew. Aizawa could only think of the worst possible outcome now with no other explanation that best fit. Usugiyama's been captured. We need to get all the students together to make a headcount and see about our casualties. The teacher left clearly irritated he couldn't save his own student. Usugiyama, don't make me have a repeat of Shirakumo. You can't die on us. Izuku Pav, hey kid, wake up. I started to hear a voice I'm not familiar with start asking me to wake up. For some reason, I felt as if I was light as a feather. Kid, get up. I couldn't focus on much as I felt my subconscious fade in and out. What the hell are you making me wait for? I opened my eyes to see a man with no hair as well as some strange equipment on yelling at me. Well, you're finally up. About time. I've been here for the past few minutes trying to get your brain working again. 4. Just who is this guy? I tried to talk with it not working to look down to see my mouth wasn't showing as well as most of my body. The only part of me that wasn't shrouded in what looked like a black haze was my right leg and some of my left hand. Don't panic. You just can't manifest yourself fully in OFA yet, which means you haven't mastered it to its current full potential. To my potential? What's he talking about? Wait, I'm inside OFA right now. That look on your face tells me you're freaking out. It's fine. Let me just go over the basics. You already know that OFA stockpiles energy, right? I nodded as an answer. Good. Then let's use that as a baseline for what's happening right now. You see, OFA can store not only the energy produced by the past users and send it off to the next holder. It can also stockpile the information of everyone it touches quirks. Wait, it can stockpile the quirks of the past users themselves. I thought back to my fight with Muscular, understanding that this might have been what happened to me. You've already seen my quirk Black Whip in action. I glanced up to see the man create the black wisps that I used during the fight. To make things easy for us kid, the name's Daigoro Banjo. I was the 5th user of OFA before it was passed down. My quirk Black Whip allows me to create black wisps with the ability to hold things. All I gotta do to use it is think of what I wanna use my quirk on to capture and it will catch it. For the most part it's kinda badass, but don't try to overuse my quirk. The area started to fade away with Banjo groaning. We're running out of time. Listen kid, thanks to All Might and his use of the quirk, we're able to discuss things with you as well as us. You're also able to use your quirks as well. Counting Black Whip, you'll also have up to 6 different quirks manifest inside you. But none of that matters if you don't get out of what you're in right now. He faded with the area turning into a bright flash. Back in reality, I started waking up bound to what felt like a metal chair. Where am I? Glad to see you are finally up. I looked towards the source of the voice to see the man that took me before. I suppose some introductions are in order. Izuku Usugiyama. All for one. Why did you attack the training camp and why kidnap me? Patience boy. All will be revealed in time. The kidnapping though, I think you and I both know why. I thought about it a second to come to the conclusion this had to do with OFA. I take it you found out. Joke's on you. OFA can't be taken, only given. Ordinarily you'd be correct, but there are ways around that. I raised an eyebrow for him to explain. Do you know why OFA cannot be stolen? It has something to do with the first user, I'm guessing. The villain chuckled a bit before answering. You're not completely wrong. You see, a quirk has somewhat a footprint left behind by the past user whenever I steal one. Their presence or soul, if you'd call it that, is still connected to the quirk. The same can be said about OFA. It's because of this as well as the fact 8 different people are refusing to allow me to steal the quirk that I cannot. Believe me when I say I have tried, but I have failed and acted rash to how I should handle this. I can admit to that. So you can't take OFA because of the past users? Yes and no. The past users do make it complicated to steal the quirk, but it's not impossible to steal it. You see, if the will can overpower the combined will of the past users, it's possible to take OFA. I tried to move my body a bit while also trying to activate permeation, for it not to work. You won't be able to use any of your shared quirks. I'm currently holding you in quirk cancellation binds. So you're that scared of my quirk. Why not just take it and avoid preparing for every tangent? Even though it would be easier for me, taking your quirk would be pointless. Power that relies on others, how ridiculous. Even if I'd steal it, that power will not be worthwhile on myself since I have no reason to rely on others, nor do neither of my allies. I will admit, it's powerful in your hands, but it will do nothing in mine or anyone else's. 1. So you'd rather have me strung up like this instead of taking a power that's useless to you but powerful to me? Believe it or not, I'm nowhere near as much of a monster as you think I am. I don't just steal quirks because. However, there are ones that I take a unique liking to. AFO tossed Ragdoll towards me for her eyes to look like she was unconscious with her eyes half open and barely moving. A quirk that allows me to sense where someone or something is. It's been quite a while since I could get my hands on such a special one. Deep in my being, I felt absolute anger towards this to shout at AFO. You son of a bitch. How can you treat someone who just wanted to be a good person like this? Ragdoll didn't do anything to deserve THISAAAAHHHHH. I felt what I thought was 1,000 volts coming into my system for my body to convulse on the metal slab. I coughed up a little blood before it finally stopped. I may not be as heartless as you think, but I shall not be talked down to as if I was some child. Do not think otherwise. You are only alive right now because you have something I have wanted for quite some time. OFA. With its power, I can enhance my AFO power and achieve what I truly desire. Unparalleled control. That quirk is the only thing preventing me from reclaiming my crown as ruler of Japan from the underground, and if you were to die, then the power would be wasted. So you live for now. But I won't keep you in a great condition. I felt a sharp pain in my leg to look down at my body and see I was still a mess from my fight with Muscular. Take care Izuku Usugiyama. I shall return when some time has passed, with my doctor being the one keeping you alive. Do make this fun for me. A door shut for me to look around the room to see absolute darkness. I gotta think of a way out, but I can't move nor can I even do anything to help my case having my body busted up like this. I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to wait. Few hours later, Miriko Pav. After finding out what the hell happened at the training camp, I decided to pay Nezu a visit with Ryoko trying to stop me. Rumi, this isn't a good time to start picking fights. You know what else this isn't a good time for? Sitting on my ass and having my son get fucking abducted by villains. You out of everyone knows what the fuck I'm gonna do and why. Getting to the door to the principal's office, I kicked the door down with a vein clearly popping out of my head. Nezu. 2. Ah, it's a demon rabbit. 4. Shut the fuck up, Mike. Completely ignoring everyone in the room, I walked right towards the rat and slammed the back of my heel on the table where he was. I'm sorry if we had angered you in any way, Ms. Miriko. What can we do for you? Don't give me your peaceful negotiations bullshit. I heard from the kids in Izuku's class what happened to him. I pulled the rodent up by his shirt collar and glared him in the face with the rage I had starting to seep out of me. So you're gonna tell me what the fuck happened and why a bunch of low-grade villains got the drop on you to abduct my son and cause a lot of harm to the kids? Miriko, this isn't. I'd stay out of this eraser. I glanced over to see even Ryoko angry for the rat to pat my hand. I understand your anger, Ms. Miriko, and believe me when I say I am trying my best to find Mr. Usugiyama as fast as I can. Well, what are you gonna do to help find him? I'm certain you already know, but this is the third fucking time my son's gone and fought the League. I understand more than anyone how dangerous hero work can be since my major form of combat is hand-to-hand, but things that happen 3 times with the same group or people should immediately be a red flag. You know, she's actually got a point that I'm not proud of admitting. We all turned to the walking stereo box for him to explain. We took almost every precaution we could this time to avoid the kids getting hurt. We changed the location of the training camp last minute. We asked pro heroes to help and it was in a location you couldn't stumble upon by accident. The longest someone knew of the location before this was less than 3 days tops, and the only people that would have known are us and the Pussycats. You could also rule in the students after they came to the camp the first day. Ryoko seemed to get where Mike was going, but I couldn't understand it. So what are you getting at? Well, I can't say for sure, but it sounds like we could have a traitor. Midnight immediately tried to get us away from this train of thought by trying to downplay this as just a thought. Mike, even if you say that, you're also putting yourself under the bus. I'm just saying, this was too strange of a coincidence for it to be anything else. I took a deep breath in before placing Nezu back in his chair. All right, I cracked my knuckles and gave a death glare to the entire staff. Who's the fucking snitch? 8. Though we cannot fully take Mike's theory to heart lest fear another untimely attack by the League, I will take steps to see if this is true or not myself. Nezu spoke up before turning to me and Ryoko. We will be having a raid soon in regards to finding and retrieving back Izuku Usugiyama. If possible, I'd like you to join it. Both the number 9 and number 6 pro hero on our side will make this much smoother. You don't have to tell me twice. I was gonna join this whether you wanted me to or not. I walked out of the opening from the broken down door to grab it and start putting it up back where it was when I kicked it. Send me the information when you're ready with everything and I'll be where you need me to. Ryoko and I left with the door coming back down again as we did. You do know that there may need to be drastic changes in this school's learning system after this, right? Not like I care. All I wanna do right now is kick the fucking head off of whoever was stupid enough to try and steal my son without thinking of consequences. Quote. For once I agree with you. Quote. Later that day, Yui Pav. I started to wake up with what felt like my head being on fire. Hey, you're finally up. Glancing to the side, I noticed Itsuka standing beside me adjusting flowers. How long was I out the camp? Relax. You've been asleep for 3 days. We were attacked at the training camp by the League of Villains. From what we've gathered, there was at least 7 villains in total. Most of our class was incapacitated because of a gas villain. The worst person was arguably Tetsu, who broke a rib trying to keep from breathing it in. 3. Is everyone else in 1A okay? Itsuka looked away for a minute, not wanting to say anything. Itsuka, what happened? During the incident, Pixie Bob was injured with a blow to the head and nobody knows what happened to Ragdoll. The only thing we found where she was supposed to be was her headpiece and a notable amount of blood. Some of Class A was hurt as well, with our class notably having the most hurt, with the total number in the forest hurt being 11 students, 13 unharmed and 1 missing. Quote. Who went missing? Izuku went to the wall and punched it in anger. I should have trusted my instincts telling me something was wrong. I should have helped find him instead of take down that villain. She punched the wall harder this time in rage. Why him? Why did they want Izuku? I froze hearing this to grip the blankets over me. I should have known something was strange when I smelled that gas. We both heard a knock on the door to see Kirishima and Bakugo at the door. Hey, I was wondering if everything is okay. I heard banging and I was worried someone was hurt in here. Sorry Kirishima, I let my anger get the best of me. Bakugo walked up to me and patted Itsuka's shoulder. There was nothing we could have done. They went after Deku with intent to kidnap. But you and I both know he didn't go down willingly. Mr. Aizawa said he took down the villain muscular. If he didn't stop him, we would have had more hurt. Still doesn't make things better. I know. Things felt horrible for all of us. I don't think anyone from Class A or B didn't have a shred of empathy for not being able to help. Since you both are awake, me and Shitty Hair have a proposal for both of you. Both me and Itsuka looked at them hearing this. There's still a way we can save Usugiyama. If you two are up for it, we can save him. To be continued. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.